Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Friday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your days. We are streaming live as well, ESPNCoastal.com, and on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We got conference tournaments going on, heading into Selection Sunday coming up, where we'll find out, Ben, who's going to the field of 64. So really excited about that. Of course, 64. So we got, we have 64 teams and 4 teams that are trying to play their way in to the tournament is the way I have always looked at it. So not in the tournament.
Kevin is not a fan of the quote last 4 in or trying to play in.
Yes, I've been consistent with that 64 teams and there's 4 teams that are trying to do it. Does anybody pick those games in your bracket? No, they don't, because they're trying to play their way in.
But if you are a part of that, 68, you 65, 66, 67, 68, you like, look, man, we trying to do our best. But Kevin's like, no, I'm sorry, you are the sympathy teams, and you're not going to be nowhere near when the real games matter.
And you got to play. That's why you're playing in Akron, and everybody else is waiting somewhere else. I mean, I'm just saying,
you're playing at an undisclosed location that ESPN radio or ESPN cameras will not be sent to see you.
That's right. Everybody else is waiting for y'all to play so we can get on with the. With the proceedings here.
Y'all hurry up, please, so we got real games to go.
Y'all are playing on a Tuesday and a Wednesday at another place. We're all waiting for you to hurry up so we can go. Nobody fills it out on their bracket, really. You just 64-team tournament coming up on. We'll have it. We'll know it on Sunday, plus the 4 play-in teams. I love Rib and Christian about that. We got NFL free agency set up to start next week, and apparently the Falcons been going to be in on some potential big names. I know a lot of rumors about Jacksonville with money to spend, going after, quote, top end offensive and defensive linemen. So we got that to look at out for as well. And of course, baseball is back. We talked about it yesterday. Free agency is open. Spring training sites are open. I've seen guys like Marcus Stroman, Vlad Guerrero Jr. already at their respective team sites. And, Freddie Freeman chilling at the house. Freddie just hanging out. Say, hey, I will be somewhere. Maybe in a couple of days, who knows? But this is really the start of free agency. You got the ramp up to the season. Spring training games are next Thursday, so you got 6 days till they're going to start playing games. Ben, I understand Major League Baseball and the players are working out some sort of deal about expanded rosters for the first month of the season, since you kind of have a quick lead up to get the season going. So you may actually have 26, 27 players. They haven't decided in the first month of the season, but baseball is back. I know a lot of people said, why haven't there been more movement? There's only been, I think David Ross got an extension to manage the Cubs, and there's been, I think the Cardinals signed a pitcher, and that's about it. And you read the people who are inside on some of these negotiations, said, look, this thing is wild right now because you just opened the floodgates, and most people, Ben, obviously, would like, if you're talking about a guy that could potentially be in your starting 9, would like to get a deal done by Sunday. You say, why is that? Well, that's when mandatory report date is, and you have 3 weeks basically to get your roster together and playing together. And you want, certainly, if I'm going to give Freddie Freeman $170 million, $200 million, I want him in camp as soon as possible. If I'm going to pay Trevor Story, if I'm going to pay Nick Castellanos, if I'm going to pay some of these guys, I want them in. And apparently there are 6-8 deals that haven't even been reported yet that are close to getting done. And again, if you're a Braves fan, obviously you're wondering about, Freddie Freeman and where he's going to go. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Gaurav Vidak of Battery Power on SB Nation going to join us coming up in just a little bit, Ben. But, baseball is back. You're going to have expanded playoffs. I think the expanded playoffs, not too expanded, because you have 12 of the 30 teams getting into playoffs. Not quite as much of a percentage as you see in some other leagues. And I heard the discussion, well, maybe that's one of the unforeseen things that baseball did that might be good, where the owners wanted 14, but you look at the NFL and people said, was it really a great thing that we had expanded playoffs this year in the National Football League? Did we get better football because of it? NBA, you now have what, 20 teams? Almost get up there to like 3. Like you play the entire season to have 2/3 of your league get in the playoffs. A lot of people are going, I thought you wanted us to pay attention during the regular season. Now 2/3, I mean, I know it's just a play-in situation, but still 20 teams make the playoffs. I think baseball got it right in that sense, keeping it smaller to make the one. I mean, you play 162 games. That's got to matter for something.
Yeah, and the thing is, look, First and foremost, I am happy that our baseball is back. What a difference a day makes, Kevin. This time yesterday, we was thinking, all right, are they going to get a deal? And look how crazy it's gotten since then. And I know people saying, why I haven't seen that many deals? You still got to be strategic. Like, business is back. But I think that when you think about a lot of big names, a lot of contracts got to get done between now and really Sunday. So these front offices, these agents are working overtime. And obviously, depending on who your favorite team is, and that's who you're looking at. In our neck of the woods, it's all about Freddie Freeman right now. I mean, that is going to be – I mean, I see with everything that Alex Anthopoulos has done, this is going to be the biggest decision he's going to make, period. I mean, everything seemingly he's done up to this point has worked. But, Kevin, it goes back to something we were saying about Freddie Freeman. This is why you get the deal done during the year. You don't wait, because the longer you wait, now he's added MVP, regular season MVP, and World Series champion. All that stuff has to matter. When they did the numbers, Freddie Freeman is number one in every major category for the Braves. Every major category, he's number one. That's with Ronald Acuna. That's with Ozzie Albies. That's with Austin Riley. So I just think that for Alex Anthopoulos, he's saying, look, I believe they're going to give him a very, very fair offer. But what's fair to the Braves might not be fair to the onlookers. It might not be fair to those who – and look, when you start comparing things to what, the Dodgers or the Yankees will do, well, nothing's fair. Because these dudes but a team to watch in that division is the freaking Mets. The Mets are going to be big spenders, and because they're trying to be number one. They're always going to be the little brother to the Yankees. Let's just call it what it is. They had one of the best pitching staffs, I guess. I think about 4 or 5 years removed when they was in the World Series, but lost to the Royals. So that was much ado about nothing. Syndergaard, those guys are moving on to greener pastures. But that owner, he said, "Look, man, I'm going to be a big spender." And for those who think, and I'm not putting no rumors out there.
You're talking about Steve Cohen. He's a billionaire. He bought the Mets.
Yeah. So I just think that, look, happy to have baseball back. But I do think, Kevin, something you said, because, training camp, I mean, it opens next week. You trying to get these guys in.
Well, it opens. It's already open.
Well, it's already open. But you're trying to. But I think, too, with the Braves, I mean, it's so many guys. Freddie Freeman's number one. But then, all right, who do you keep up the big three? You still want to sign Jock Peters? You want to sign Rosario? I think it's Soler. What do you do with Christian Pache? And it's going to be a lot of guys coming up for big contracts down the line. But for the Braves right now, you got to try to get Freddie Freeman. And we talking as if freaking Alex Anthopoulos ain't been camped out right in front. I mean, he probably got an Airbnb right across the street from freaking Freddie Freeman. But hopefully, the camaraderie coming off a World Series win, hopefully, getting Ronald Acuna Jr. back, seeing what this roster can look like. What do you do with Marcell Ozuna? That's another talking point. Hopefully, Kevin, those type of things does help keep Freddie Freeman the Brave for life. Because, like I said, man, why he got to be so freaking good? He's the best freaking first baseman in baseball. He doesn't have slumps. The guy's literally never had a bad season. He had a mini slump last year. He showed some human side to him, but that didn't last long. So, but we'll see what happens. But I think the free agent frenzy right now in baseball is crazy. Because you got 600 some guys, a lot of dudes got to go out there and get their deals done. But we are waiting on one Freddie Freeman to hopefully let that be that breaking news.
Yeah, and again, we'll see what the Braves' plans are. And Ben, you have long since said this. The fan in you says Freddie should be a Brave for the rest of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Alex Anthopoulos is paid to be a fan second, right? I mean, there's not a GM in any professional sport. Whether you're talking about baseball, football, NBA, there's not one GM who said, I'm going to think, maybe there's something, but they're not, probably not, that is thinking as a fan first and a businessman second. No, your job is I gotta have a competitive, if I'm on a good franchise. If I'm on a bad franchise, the owner may say, I don't care if we win, just, put a team out there. I'd like to do it as cheaply as possible and whatever. But there's still not a GM that's going to say, man, really love it. They'd be like, no, Freddie, listen, end of the day, we'd love to have you. We want you to be a Brave. Unfortunately, you want to compete for championships. I know we just won one, right? But as you're talking about, I think that's the pitch I would make to Freddie. Freddie, I know you understand where we are at in relation to like the Yankees and some of those. If it's about the money, do that. We will try to make more a fair offer. But look, you want to compete for championships. You got an MVP. You got a World Series. Would you like multiple World Series potentially runs in you with Ronald Acuna? Like, we have to pay for a number of those guys. And we're not trying to cheap you out by any chance. You're going to get at least what they offered him was going to make him the highest paid first baseman in baseball. Now, we know how that goes. That might last for 5 minutes. But it's not like you went up there and said, we're offering you, to be the fourth highest paid first baseman. No, the Braves put out an offer. Maybe it's a sticking point over that 6 year. And if it is, maybe the Braves come. But also, Alex Anthopoulos is paid to say, in that 6 year, will it be a detriment to have to pay Freddie Freeman 20, however many $1 million versus us trying to win and be a consistent competitor in Major League Baseball? And if you think it might, that's why Alex Anthopoulos up there going, we can give you 5. And you're going, why won't they give him 6? Because at 38, 39, they're also saying, well, we got like 30-year-old Ronald Acuna we're about to break off. We've got, Ian Anderson, who just got paid, a couple years back. We got, like, there's some things that are going to happen besides Freddie Freeman getting his cheese. So I think if you're a Braves fan, you have to understand that just because the Braves, and that's one thing I've always had, I guess, a little disagreement with BJ, where he's like, they disrespected him.
No,
I don't buy that. I don't think that you could say, oh, he left because the Braves disrespected him. I mean, did they all want to get a deal done before last season? Yes. Did it happen? No. Is he disappointed that they couldn't come to terms? Probably. Does that mean they disrespected him? No, I feel like sometimes in sports, we're like, unless the team gives you exactly everything you want, you got disrespected. I just don't feel that way. I think the Braves have done a lot to help Freddie Freeman. I think they've done a lot to ensure that the team around him was good finally. It's, hey, Freddie, we're going to rebuild this thing. And they stuck to it and actually followed up on what they were saying. Like, we are going to build this thing to be a contender, and you see what happened with the Braves. I don't feel as though, I mean, I'm not speaking for Freddie Freeman. I'm just saying I don't feel like what the Braves offered was disrespectful. It's not what he wanted, but it was not, I think, a disrespectful offer.
No, not at all. I mean, we're giving you like you said, Ken, we're giving you the most money that a pitcher has ever been. I mean, that a first base has ever been offered in history. We're not going to reshape the market with you, though. I mean, the one thing about negotiation when you talk about teams, certain teams, they don't care how they spend. Yankees, they just throw money out there. When you talk about the Braves, look, man. Number one, what they've been doing has been working as of recent. From guys at the trade deadline to looking out for Ozzie and Ronald Acuna when they did not have to do either. They did not have to do that, and they did that. So the Braves are doing things they normally don't do. But are they finna start throwing around $200 million? No. Now, is Ronald Acuna Jr. one of those type players? Maybe. But they satisfy him right now to get him to that point to say, hey, man, remember, we did for you what no one in baseball does. So we're going against what the other 29 owners do to give you that 10-year, 100. And obviously, you're not going to make it to that 10th year of that $100 million deal. But we ain't got you playing nowhere near no league minimum. We don't want to hear nothing about that. But I do think, Kevin, no, it's not disrespectful, because at the end of the day, like you said, Kevin, if the Braves, who you hope to still be contending in 6 years, and you got to play one guy, up to $30 million, and what does that do to the rest of your roster? Because, I mean, Austin Riley is getting it done. Ian Anderson is getting it done. Max Fried is getting it done. Mike Soroka can come back and get it done. Ronald Acuna, he's going to come back off injury. You got a lot of young guys coming from that farm system that are getting it done. Sorry, and Freddie Freeman, you've been missing consistent. That's why we offer you the most money. But Braves offering the most money they can offer for a first baseman is different than other teams. They can't do their franchise on other teams. But last time I checked, they're coming off a World Series championship, while other teams are not.
Yeah, and again, I don't feel like what the Braves have done to this point has been disrespectful. Maybe there's still, as we just saw with the Major League Baseball, there's still room for negotiations, of course. But I don't feel like they were disrespecting Freddie Freeman in any way. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Gaurav Vidak will join us from Battery Power, SB Nation. We'll talk Braves baseball as they are officially back opened. I think we'll hear from Brian Snitker on Sunday when the mandatory report date is. But where is this team at right now, looking to fill these holes before they start spring training games next Thursday? And, of course, the lead up to the March 7th opener, or the April 7th, opener for Major League Baseball. He'll join us next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back to 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you are with us. Baseball is back. Spring training begins really today, and players can report today, tomorrow. Mandatory report day on Sunday. Spring training games begin next Thursday. Season starts on April 7th. Obviously, a lot of business to get done between now and then. And joining us here on the program from Battery Power on SB Nation, covering the Atlanta Braves, Gaurav Vidak joins us here on 3 and Out. Gaurav, welcome to the show, man. How are you? He just hung up on us, I guess. We'll try to get him back here on the program. So sorry about that. We'll try to get Gaurav back. But obviously the Braves with a number of things to do with Freddie Freeman. Do you want to bring back Jorge Soler? Do you want to bring back a Jock Peterson? Number of things for the Braves to try to get done here at the end of the day in order to finish up their roster here. So we'll try to chat about that with Gaurav Vidak, where they look at where they stand rather in terms of their pitching, starting rotation, their bullpen. I think some of that stuff looks pretty good. Maybe want to go out and get a starting pitcher, one veteran, kind of like they've done the last couple of years, but back into that bullpen, the night shift, which we all fell in love with there during the World Series, looked really good, and they're all coming back. So a lot to like about where you're at there with that bullpen. I think we've got Gaurav with us. Gaurav, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing wonderful. I got college baseball on my TV, and I'm here to talk about Major League Baseball coming back. I'm just so excited and happy we're finally at this point.
Absolutely. So you look at this Braves team. Obviously, first and foremost, it's Freddie Freeman. How badly do you think they want Freddie Freeman? Now, I know if you don't get Freddie, you got Acuna coming back, some other things, but how badly do you feel like they want Freddie Freeman to come back?
Yeah, it's pretty much Freeman or bust. There's lots of reports about the Braves being interested in Matt Olson out of Oakland, but he's going to cost a king's ransom to come over here. There's not really anyone on the roster or really in the minors that can take over first base right now. So I'm pretty sure the Braves are going to be offering as much as they possibly can to try and retain him, because it is a big hole to fill over at first base.
I mean, with everything Alex Anthopoulos has done thus far since he's taken over in the front office for the Braves, this obviously got to be the biggest decision he's made thus far, correct?
I couldn't agree with you more, because not only are you talking about potentially losing a massive bat, you're talking about, he's also the face of the franchise. The city loves him, fans love him. It's a lot to have to replace, and especially if the rumor is that last sixth year being the difference maker, you're going to make a lot of fans angry if that's why they don't retain the star. So hopefully things can work out, and hopefully opening day will have a normal site at first.
Gaurav, where's the other the holes that the Braves are going to try to address? Because obviously it's Freddie Freeman. That's a big one, but you still have an outfield spot potentially if you want to, a new DH role for somebody to fill. Where do you think minus Freddie Freeman, where do you think the biggest hole for this team is to address in the next handful of days?
Despite the huge depth that they have at starting pitcher, I can totally see the Braves trying to make a splash, signing one of the frontline starters. The Braves were linked to Justin Verlander before he accepted that deal over in Houston. I really see the Braves going aggressive on a starting pitcher to really partner with Charlie Morton and Max Fried to make that top of the rotation really, really stand out. After those three, you have Ian Anderson, and then from there you can kind of plug and play with the options at hand. But I really think they go hard after a starting pitcher. You could see some relief help as well, although I really like the Braves, really their options to come in and fill in those relief roles with like Indigo Diaz and Brooks Wilson. But really, I see them not exclusively, but I see them going really, really hard on pitching.
The three guys at the trade deadline, were huge in the postseason. Peterson, Rosario, Soler. I mean, obviously Freddie Freeman is number one. You talk about getting a big-time pitcher if they can. Out of those three you got the trade deadline, who's going to be kind of like a 1A, 1B, 1C as far as like Alex Anthopoulos trying to bring one of those guys back?
Well, luckily with the DH and Acuna coming back, you can he can play that role until he's fully healthy. If he's not quite ready to play the field, someone like Soler, who's not necessarily the greatest in the outfield, is someone that could go. There's a lot of different ways. We have to figure out what's going to happen to Marcelo Zuna as well. They have Christian Pache, Andrew Waters kind of really forcing their hands. They're starting to get up there. Pache especially, really, his next step is the majors. There's nothing else for him to really prove down in Gwinnett. Drew Waters is also an option. Then they have Michael Harris, who really stole the show last spring training. He's already showing up to minor league camp. He's looking really athletic. He's put on real muscle, and he's, by all accounts, a crazy show in batting practice. So there's lots of options available. It's going to be weird. A lot of these guys didn't have the greatest 2021 campaigns. And if the Braves are looking to spend serious money on Freeman as well as the starting pitcher, you could probably see them going slightly cheaper on the outfield roles.
And the lineup's still very, very good, even if you don't get one of those guys. And speak to that, Gaurav. Who are some of the guys that were down there in minor league camp that now that big league camp is open might have an actual shot to sneak in and take a spot somewhere on the roster?
There's quite a few, and really on the starting pitching side. Christian Pache is always going to be an option. His next step's got to be Major League Baseball. Outside of that, Kyle Muller, Tucker Davidson, Bryce Elder, Spencer Strider made his debut last year. Someone that you could really see that forcing his hand is Indigo Diaz, who is fantastic out of the bullpen for both Mississippi and Gwinnett. Brooks Wilson was fantastic for Gwinnett. There's a lot of arms available, especially in the bullpen, to play really high leverage roles. So those are just a few of the names that are there for the taking. There's quite a few more. Freddie Tarnock, super raw when the Braves drafted him, but now he's something really, really to watch, especially more for next year itself. But there's a ton of options of players that are on that cusp that are forcing the Braves' hand into making that decision either this year or potentially forcing them outside of the organization.
Assuming that Alex Anthopoulos does get the deal done with Freddie Freeman, we talk about a guy like Marcelo Zuna because of the contract. Probably going to be a Brave this year, and you get a healthy Ronald Acuna. Maybe you sign, Soler. You get some of those guys in the bullpen that you just mentioned. How dangerous could this Braves teams be in 2022?
I'll never say they have the inside track to back-to-back World Series. I think the division is theirs for the taking. There's a ton of talent on the roster, especially when you have a DH too that really lengthens the lineup. The real holes right now, potentially could be center field, and it really depends on what Dansby Swanson you get. But for the most part, this lineup is stacked yet again, and the Braves should have once again one of the most prolific and a really elite offense in 2022.
Gaurav Vidak joining us here on 3 and Out from Battery Power on SB Nation. And Gaurav, you mentioned Ronald Acuna, obviously lost in all the, you can talk to players again when the deal gets signed. Was everybody's like, oh, you can talk to Freddie Freeman. I mean, people forget the Braves have not been able to talk to Ronald Acuna. Charlie Morton work them out with their trainers, get them in to look and see how the rehab's going. What are the Braves' kind of best guess for where Acuna and Charlie Morton are going to be once they get to camp in terms of actually being ready to play in 3 weeks?
I don't think there's really a chance for. I would be very pleasantly surprised if Charlie Morton was able to make that opening day roster. I think he's going to take some time to really work back. And frankly, with his experience and what he's done, he deserves all the time he needs to really get into a place. I know Ronald's been playing down in Venezuela, and you want him to take his time, but again, like I said, with this DH spot open, it really gives the Braves the opportunity to let him take his time to really come back and work the field. Let him stay at the DH role. Let him get his bat back in place. We know what he can do. He was bound to be the top player in baseball last year if it wasn't for this injury. So he might be the most important team or the most important player in the entire major. If he can come back earlier than expected, really hit the ground running in that DH role, he could provide the Braves offense, which is already elite. He could really feel an insane offensive year for the Atlanta Braves.
And obviously, we're talking about the Braves because the owners and the players were able to come to a decision about the CBA. How impressed or not were you that these guys were able to finally get this thing done, especially when since December, the lockout, it didn't seem as though we were going to have all 162 games this year?
Pleasantly surprised. I'm very pleasantly surprised about the full 162 game season. I'm glad they didn't expand the playoffs too much. The 12 team, I think, is probably where we'll stay at for, hopefully we stay at for the rest of my existence. I'm happy. I'm just so happy that baseball's back. I'm glad that the owners and the players were able to work it out. Let's hope for, let's make sure this doesn't happen again. I was thrilled I was actually really, really thrilled to see Rob Manfred immediately contact Tony Clark after everything was agreed upon, and he seems resolved to try and make sure this isn't an issue again. Now we just get to sit back and talk Brave speculation, talk Braves rumor. This really is the greatest time of the year.
It certainly is. Gaurav, of what they passed, and I know most people don't care about the CBT luxury tax threshold at the end of the day, but of what they passed, what do you think fans will probably appreciate the most in terms of the way it affects the game, the way we're going to see baseball moving forward?
Really, the biggest one for me is the fact that if a rookie places top 3 in Rookie of the Year or top 5 in MVP or Cy Young, they're already awarded a full year of service. So that makes sure teams don't hold down their top prospects until that cutoff date to earn that extra year. We could see some of the most prolific players in the minors get their start of the season at the very beginning instead of waiting until June. And that is just better for baseball, hands down. You'll be able to see the likes of a Ronald Acuna on opening day. Everyone knows what happened with Chris Bryant and the Chicago Cubs and the fallout that happened. You're not going to see that anymore because these top players are going to get what they deserve and get that full year no matter when they show up in the majors. So that is the biggest thing. And on top of that, teams are incentivized to do that because they could get another draft pick as well. I love that little caveat. I can't wait to see some of these top players start from the very beginning instead of having to wait for their time.
The thing about I was most impressed with the fact, like you said, they was able cooler heads did prevail. But I looked at the 2021 All MLB team. I think Dansby Swanson, I think had like 16 games in the regular season, postseason games. Mike Trout, the face of baseball, still doesn't even play in the postseason. How much does not being able to extend the playoff pool hurt a team like the Angels, for which everybody else say, yeah, I know who Mike Trout is in the regular season, don't really get a chance to see him in the postseason?
That is definitely the downside of the expanded playoffs. You don't get to see a Trout. They have Anthony Rendon on that team. They have Shohei Ohtani. Like, these are some of the world's premier talents that you're not able to see in a everyday occurrence on national TV. And baseball does get impacted by that. At the same time, this is just my personal preference. I like awarding really strong regulars. If the season is going to be 162 games, you deserve a little extra reward for that. For those top teams that are able to perform at that level during a very, very long time, you should be rewarded for that. And I think awarding, those high 70, low 80 win teams with playoff berths is a little watering down of the competition. So personally, I'm happy with the 12-man, but you are correct. It's less opportunities for some of these elite talents, even like the Padres missing the playoffs as well, or the world didn't get an opportunity to see Fernando Tatis Jr. play, right? So there's always pros and cons, but I'm happy that they went the route that they did.
Gaurav Vidak, our guest here on 3 and Out. Gaurav, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Always happy to be on with you guys.
Appreciate it. Gaurav Vidak joining us here from Battery Power on SB Nation, covering the Braves. And again, excited to be talking about the business on the field of baseball and not the business of baseball, which has been what we've been doing for 3 months leading up to yesterday.
Listen, if you're in that front office, though, if you have to deal with those agents, I don't even know. You might have to sleep at the office, Kevin, because, it's going to be crazy. Not just even from trying to re-sign the guys that you already got on the roster. Who do you get on the other roster that can bolster your roster? Gaurav, when he said the Braves, he seen them going there trying to get a big starting pitcher, man, to be able to bolster this pitcher staff. But these Braves team, they got, center field, yeah, but you don't have a lot of holes to fill. But that first base, you don't want that to be a hole to fill. You're gonna have to do your best to keep Freddie Freeman in the building.
We'll see what they do. We'll discuss to have Freeman or not to have Freeman when we come back. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here on this Friday. Ben Troop, I'm Kevin Thomas. Glad you are with us. Of course, Braves country awaiting. Like, why haven't they done it already, Ben? That's what everybody's saying. Why have the Braves not done it already, bring back Freddie Freeman here. Free agency's been open for almost 22 hours. Like, why isn't it done yet? But that being said, Ben, Freddie Freeman, I think we would all agree, face of the franchise. And I've seen some people say this, man, you can't let him go. He's the face of the franchise. Well, if he does go, your face of the franchise wears number 13. Like the torch gets passed all the time, right? I mean, Michael Jordan leaves the Bulls, somebody else becomes the face of the franchise. You know, Magic Johnson left the Lakers. Guess what? Somebody else became the face of the franchise. It happens. I'm not saying you have to be excited about it, but somebody else will take up that mantle and kind of be the face of the team. I think that'd be, Ronald Acuna, obviously, at that point, maybe a lesser extent of Max Fried as a starting pitcher. But, Ben, as much as you don't want to think about it, if you can't sign Freddie Freeman, how does that change your thinking here if you're the Braves? Because as Gorov said, you don't have a really ready first baseman in the minor leagues. Then you really have to go in to try to trade for a guy like a Matt Olson or from Oakland or a guy like that. If you can't get Freddie, where does that leave the Braves in your estimation?
Ooh, that leaves them in limbo, Kevin, because, I mean, Freddie Freeman is one of those rare guys to where everybody – look, let me say this. Everybody's replaceable in sports, whether it's through retirement, free agency, not playing well, got to move on. But Freddie Freeman has been about as consistent as a player can be. Freddie Freeman, as far as like being consistent for the Braves, I compare it to like a Derek Jeter, like just from consistency. Like they're very, very, very I am not saying Freddie Freeman is Derek Jeter to you, Derek Jeter and Yankee fan. Being said, that's not what I said. But the thing about Derek Jeter, every time you needed a hit, he comes through every freaking time, whether regular season, postseason. The thing about Freddie Freeman is, Kevin, he was good when the Braves were bad. Like he used to be the only thing that was good about the Braves for about 5 years. Like nothing. So he was there through those ugly years. Then Alex Anthopoulos comes in. Then this guy named, Ronald Acuna Jr. comes in. Then you talk about Isaac. Then you talk about Austin Riley. And you talk about, the three guys, with Peterson and Rosario, Soler, with all the different pitchers. It's supposed to be, I mean, how many times he had the opening, Tehran. He was the opening pitcher. I mean, he was the opening day for about 5-6 years in a row. I just think that now, Kevin, when you think about a guy like Freddie Freeman, we've gotten spoiled by how good he is. And now you realize, well, dude, what has happened since then? Even if he didn't win a World Series, he's still a freaking MVP. So you still was gonna have to pay him. His individual numbers and his individual production would have resulted the same. We would be in the same boat, even if the Braves aren't coming off a World. So don't let the World Series just iced on the cake. But Freddie Freeman played well in the freaking playoffs. He wasn't MVP, but he played well. So I just think, Kevin, it's going to be hard to replace him because he's Mr. Consistent. He's look, and I say this all the time about Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman might be the most unsung, unheralded, unappreciated superstar you've ever seen because he don't make waves, he don't talk trash, he don't say, look at me. Obviously, he wanted his money in 2021. And we kept telling
but he didn't make any waves during the season. He did not hear anything. He just went
about his business. Obviously, he knew that his workload was going to have to go up when Ronald Acuna Jr. goes. Because let's go back. When Ronald Acuna Jr. goes down, we think, all right, that go the season. Nope. He just kept playing, kept plugging away, and obviously nobody saw, Peterson, Rosario, and Soler being what they've been at the trade deadline. Definitely not in the postseason. But it's gonna be rough, Kevin, if he's not here, man. Just from a psyche standpoint, like, man, that's Freddie Freeman. That's Mr. Hey, man, I don't take games off. Hey, Freddie, take it. Nope.
You just take it for granted. He's
exactly.
Gonna be out there,
and look, I know that the Braves are doing everything they can to get him. Besides, just getting on their hands and knees saying, man, could you come back because you mean so much to this franchise? But like you said, like we know, Kevin, it's a business, man. And we understand you're not going to replace him production-wise. Definitely not at first. He's the best first baseman in baseball. But if he's not there, I think you understand that the business of baseball, I mean, the Braves are unfortunately on the other end of
I'm going to bring up a word that I know you hate. When it comes to Freddie, you really hate it with all athletes, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. What do you lose in intangibles with Freddie Freeman? I.e., he is the face of your team. He's a leader in that clubhouse. He's reliable. He is a guy that kind of is the look-to leader on the team. He's a guy that kind of sets the expectations. And you could say, well, who cares about that? They're all professional athletes. Somebody else could do that. how important is it, do you think, for the intangible stuff that doesn't just show up when you're standing between the chalk lines? I mean, does that matter?
It does.
I'm not saying it matters for every player. I don't think,
yes.
the Braves look at, a guy that's the 25th man on the roster who plays every couple of days, like, man, he just adds so much off the field. We can't let him go. But for a guy that is the face of your team,
yes,
does because I know we've talked about, like, don't say intangibles because you hate that word.
Yeah.
But how much do you take that into account, though?
Well, certain players are the exception, right? I mean, Kevin, look, the reason why you feel comfortable every time the Braves play somebody because you go, hey, man, we had Ronald Acuna Jr., but we still got Freddie Freeman. Like, you've been saying we had Freddie Freeman well before Ronald got there because he's consistent. And it gives other guys confidence. Like, think about it. If I'm a part of this lineup, I'm thinking, hey, man, I don't have to be my best and we can still win because I got guys around me and I got that guy. You know how much easier it is for Ronald Acuna Jr. to become who he's become because he had Freddie Freeman. Like, I'm going to be the guy, but I don't have to be the guy right now. Because that guy right there is about as good as you can be. Defensively, no one's better. Offensively, look, he's gonna be, right there as far as, like, he finally got it. Listen, finally got his MVP. Instead of getting the MVP consideration, because we always start saying it's Freddie Freeman, the Hall of Famer. Well, he's putting together a nice career, man, and he's consistent. So yes, Kevin, intangibles are those things you can't coach. Intangibles are those things that you can't really, they ain't gonna show up on the stat line, but when Freddie Freeman, I think he hurt his hand, that's in shockwaves. Whoa, because how long he going to be out? Because you don't realize how big of an impact a player like Freddie Freeman is until he's not there. Because I'm telling you, man, that guy comes up big all the time. So, yeah, Kevin, you're right. I mean, with certain guys, if they're not there, you're going to feel it. I mean, the whole thing about it is people are going to say, oh, man, if Clayton Kershaw isn't there for the Dodgers, you don't think they're going to feel that? Yes, because one guy, certain guys mean that much. I mean, I know we were talking, the girl off, you were talking about Tatis. If he's not there with the Padres, and he ain't even been there long, what does it mean to the psyche? And look, I'm not saying they got to have their best games, but with a guy like Freddie Freeman, man, it's like Freddie Freeman. If Freddie Freeman's a bad mood, I'm pretty sure guys can, man, you all right? Yeah, we're talking today. Because I need my best players to just, sometimes their presence alone is enough, and Freddie Freeman just happens to be one of those guys.
I'll be interested if they don't get him to see what the difference was for him to go somewhere else. That's all I'll say. We'll see. And nothing has been determined. Nothing is even said to be in the final stages of getting done with the Braves and Freddie Freeman or him and anybody else. But certainly the clock is ticking as camps open on Sunday, games start on Thursday in spring training, and you'd like to have as many opportunities to get him in camp as possible. We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. a little more drama been in the Atlanta Falcons camp. Apparently, the Falcons are restructuring Matt Ryan's contract to try to free up some cap space. That's not the main drama. Our good friend D. Orlando Ledbetter, I don't know if you've seen this. Apparently, it wasn't just $1,500, Calvin Ridley. Apparently, it was a little bit more than that. And so it's a little bit more than what the league and Calvin Ridley slipped out. So you try to say, oh, it was only $1,500. Apparently, that time that apparently the site he was using came out and said, we have bets from that account for like $3,000. And I know people were saying you get a whole year for $1,500 and you're sponsored by, but again, you came out as Calvin Ridley. You act like you're really not all that upset about it. One, that you got suspended. You're like, oh, it's only a year. I'll be back. Two, you said it was $1,500. It wasn't. You tried to write it off. I was like, I don't have a gambling problem. Well, you said it was $1,500 and it was like twice that at least. You know what people with gambling problems say? I didn't bet as much as I said I did. That's only $1,500. Oh, no, you actually bet like twice that much. So Calvin Ridley drama continues. And again, just a strange story for Atlanta, who it's come out the last couple of days, Ben, actually had to stop deals with two teams. Apparently they had deals that the Dolphins wanted him. And there's another team, I'm trying to think who it was, called and said, we want Calvin Ridley. And the Falcons like, no, we can't do that. Because they knew what was about to happen.
Calvin. I think sometimes too, Kevin, we think we're doing ourselves a service when it's actually a disservice. I kept saying this. I kept saying, look, man, this is not going to be just because of $1,500, man. You put the storyline out. You got to give some substance to that story, but it's more to it. They just said, look, man, we tracked everything you did. Calvin, you know how many bets you placed, right? So just because, they only talked about the 1,500. Yeah, but dude, you know how many bets you placed, right? Yeah. So be quiet. Because now, look at what you're doing to the Atlanta Falcons franchise. They can't even deal you because they're going, it looks like bad business on their part, Kevin, if they just try to deal them. So, Calvin, please stop tweeting and please just back away from the send button.
Yeah, it was the Eagles that also had a deal in place or wanted to have one in place with the Falcons, and the Falcons said, we can't do that. And I'm sure the Eagles are like, well, why not? And well, now we know. But that was from latest from D. Orlando Ledbetter. We got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll take 3 around the corner and more on this Friday. It's 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We're streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. You can also catch us live on the internet on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Welcome back. Hour 2, 3 and out here on this Friday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. So much to get to with free agency beginning next week in the National Football League. You've got guys getting cut all over the place. Pro Bowlers, he's getting cut seemingly all over the place in the National Football League. Teams with money to spend. Falcons aren't necessarily one of them, but they apparently have some interest in some nice free agents out there as well. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. But Ben, let's take 3 here on this Friday, shall we? Take 1. Jags have a lot of money. We just talked about that. Where do they go in free agency? A lot of reports that they have a bunch of money and they're going to try to go big on top end offensive and defensive linemen. Do you see that happening? And obviously, how does that affect their draft if they do?
Oh, yeah. Well, I definitely see them going for a guy, going after a guy like Fletcher Cox. I mean, if the 2 things that I could definitely say Jacksonville has the 2 worst, and I'm just talking about just production-wise. Tight end and defensive tackle. They haven't been able to generate a pass rush or stop the run with their D tackles, and they haven't been able to generate any type of production from the tight end position. So I see the defensive tackle position being more of a point of emphasis for those Jaguars before the tight end. But there's going to be some tight ends out there. I mean, Evan Ingram, former Ole Miss Rebel, first round pick that really kind of underwhelmed since he went to the Giants. Guy like Fletcher Cox, a guy I mentioned, who's going to be hard because with that contract is one thing, but a guy that's still really, really productive. You're going to have some guys around the league, Kevin, because like you say, some of these guys are going to be camp casualties. Some of these guys are going to be cap casualties. And as you mentioned, a lot of these guys have no clue that they've already played their last down with their current organization. So, yes, when you got money to spend and you got needs to fill, I think Jacksonville has plenty of money. They're going to be able to fill some of those needs this offseason.
All right, you franchised your left tackle. If you get a big D end in free agency, are you still looking at Aiden Hutchinson at number 1? I mean, this is not take 3 question. I'm just a follow-up.
I think you still are, because I think the one thing that we don't give enough credit to when it comes to the National Football League or anything is, I mean, Kevin, I know I was talking about it with Freddie Freeman and Ronald Acuna. You need a veteran to show the young guy how to go about being a pro. Like, you just got to show him the road. Just because you can play doesn't mean you understand the game that you're in now. So I do think they still go after Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he's won the hype. Every year you got the hype train. Every year you're going to get a player. Every year, right? I
don't like drafting the hype train.
I don't either. I've never liked it. I've never been a fan of it, because you end up with guys like Christian Ponder, you end up with guys like EJ Manuel, you end up with guys like Jamarcus Russell, and then when they'll pan out, we'll see. No, let the tape speak for itself. And if going into 2021, Aiden Hutchinson had a grand total of 4 career sacks. And all of a sudden, he's a beast against Iowa and Ohio State. Well, what about against Georgia? What about it? Oh, so you don't want to look at that tape. So you don't want to look at when he went up against the national championship winners. So they're probably going to still get Aiden. But, yeah, I think because that you're going to have to get somebody to pair on the other side of a guy like Josh Allen with Aiden, what I think Aiden Hutchinson can be. I think a veteran defensive end could definitely be that guy you need, because I will say this. Bobby Wagner's out there at linebacker. 10 years in the league, 7 times first team All Pro. He does his own contracts. I mean, I don't pay nobody. All my money come to me. But they
take my own 10%.
Yeah, they definitely got plenty of money to spend.
Yeah, that would actually be an interesting discussion for the Jags to kind of go off script and say, I'm going to get one of the better linebackers in the league to help the young guys that I may draft on that defensive front in the draft. Moving along, take 2. The Falcons are reportedly interested in Chandler Jones, another guy that's out there in the free agent market. Can they land him, though? Obviously, he's going to want a price tag. The Falcons trying to restructure Matt Ryan. They're over here restructuring deals so they can try to do. Can they land Chandler Jones?
If they can restructure it, they can. And now that would be a slam dunk. When you think about the Falcons team, Kevin, for as long as we can remember, they have not had a premier pass rusher. And people always tell me to go back to John Abraham. You know how long it's been. I remember when it was like John Abraham and Jordan Babineau and all those type of guys. But it's been a long.
John Abraham's getting Social Security now. It's been that
exactly. John Abraham is probably saying, "Who called my name, sir? Daddy, go back in there, man. Anybody said nothing about you?" No, I think that Chandler Jones fixes a lot of things. One, it helps a guy like Jared, Grady Jarrett, go out there and have a guy have a partner in crime. Then it makes it easier to they're probably going to, thanks again, Calvin Ridley, probably going to have to draft a receiver, the first overall pick, only because if Matty Ice is going to be there, at least this year, you want to give him the best possible weapons. So yeah, that would fill a lot of holes. And the thing about it, you talking about a guy that has 107, I think, 108 career sacks, 32 years old, been super duper productive. I think had 19 sacks one year. So I think had double-digit sacks this year, coming off a year the way he only had one because he was hurt. So doesn't get hurt that much. Very, very productive. I give you, go to the first game of the year, Arizona versus the Titans, Chandler Jones versus Taylor Lewan. That was not, Taylor Lewan had to burn that tape because I think Chandler Jones might have had 5 sacks that game. He lived in the back for like 2 forced fumbles. He had a career type game. But I do think if the Falcons get Chandler Jones, hey man, Terry Fontenot on that front office, slam dunk, man. But y'all gonna have to read.
They work some magic with those numbers.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, they need to understand. And when you hear restructure, that means you convert some of the money you were gonna get in salary to a signing bonus. So that just means you get your money quicker, which I think everybody wants anyway.
Yeah, I think Matt Ryan. I mean, again, he's owed so much money. Just give it to me now. Like, you know, in the name of winning, why not? So again, Falcons reportedly trying to rework that deal for Matt Ryan to give him some more space so that they can then go out and be a player. Because that's all we've heard so far, Ben, is I don't know what the Falcons are going to do. I mean, you hear Terry Fontenot go, hey, we're going to be value shoppers. Well, unfortunately, this is not Walmart. like we are not looking for falling prices. You know what I mean? You're going to have to go out there and get somebody that can go out there and contribute in a big way. And you've been looking and I don't know if the cheap way has been the right way.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I only say this because why? Well, Vic Beasley got him through the draft, hoping and praying. He had one good year. That year you went to the Super Bowl. Lo and behold, you get after the quarterback, you went to the Super Bowl. After that, it was what happened to Vic. Gerald Anderson or Jamal Anderson. Excuse me.
From Arkansas.
Jamal Anderson.
Yes.
Through the draft. What happened? OCU Manura on his last contract in the league. Like, hey, you gonna come like.
Dwight Freeman.
Yeah, Dwight Freeman.
These are the guys that go out and get.
Yeah, you've gotten guys that have been like, hey, I might be able to give you a year. Like, well, you need somebody that can get it now. Get after it and do it for a while. So this would be an interesting guy they could try to go get if, as you said, they can make the money work, which that's why they pay guys in that front office. What do? I just sit here and move stuff around to figure out how much money we can actually spend on our players. It's it's so crazy. You come out with these contracts like Matt Ryan's going to get, $150 million. Well, actually, Matt, it's the next year. Can we just go ahead and give you some more of it right now so we can sign more players the next year? Hey, can we just restructure it again? We'll call it the signing bonus. Just give it to you now. So that's what's having to happen to the Falcons. Can get some guys to come in and help this team. All right, moving along, Ben, take 3. You got 2 Atlanta icons in the city. One is trying to get re-signed by the Atlanta Braves. One, and may leave, who knows. One is currently on a team in Atlanta and might be leaving at some point very soon just because they can't afford him. Freddie Freeman and Matt Ryan. Who, in your mind, is the bigger Atlanta icon?
Ooh, wow.
Freddie Freeman obviously won the World Series.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Both have played a long time in the city. Both have been big-time performers. Who's the bigger Atlanta icon, Freddie or Matty Ice?
Wow. Ooh.
I didn't mean to make it as hard.
I think it is Matt Ryan, and that's taking nothing away from Freddie Free because Matt Ryan needs a lot more. He has to depend on a lot more things for him to do what he does, and Matt Ryan plays the premier position, right? Freddie Freeman, I mean, he's the best first baseman in the majors, but that's not a premier position. Freddie Freeman's not a pitcher. Now, Freddie Freeman was a pitcher, and he did what the icons did with the Braves. I would say Matty Ice. Kevin, think about it. Matty Ice had to play in the shadow of Michael Vick until he became that guy. Matty Ice got a regular season MVP. He had a regular season MVP with Drew Brees and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that Peyton Manning was still in the league. So you still have big time players, and I don't know if Freddie Freeman means a whole lot to the Braves. I mean, he means a whole lot, but. Man, Matty Ice has been the Falcons since he's been there. I mean, he just has. He can't. Every time they win, Matty is that dude. Every time they lose, he's the worst. He's 13, 14 years, man, of straight consistency. So for me, I think it is Matt Ryan, Kevin, because it's got to be something said for having a regular and taking a franchise that doesn't. Let's face it, Atlanta's been around a while. They don't got a tradition-rich history. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the history of the team. They got they should have won the second one. But I just think it is Matt Ryan, Kevin, because once again, we ain't gonna appreciate just how great Matt Ryan was until he leaves. You know what Matt Ryan did that Phillip Rivers didn't do? Went to a Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers. You know what Matt Ryan did that Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning didn't do? Regular season MVP. Drew Brees don't got a regular. So I just think that love Freddie Freeman. Listen, I know Braves fans gonna be at me on Twitter, but I just think that for me, Kevin, because of just no one saw Matty Ice being here this long and being this good. I'm gonna go with Matty Ice.
As big of a Braves guy I am, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you because for a number of reasons you said, but when you think about just Atlanta icons, Matty Ice has played in nobody's shadow.
No.
Right? I mean, you go and you would say, well, maybe initially with Michael Vick, but from the time he came in, he pretty much played quarterback better than Michael Vick. Was he as flashy? No. But did he play a better quarterback than Michael Vick? Yes. So from the time he got in, this is Matt Ryan's team, and he is Mr. Consistency. Matt Ryan don't say a whole lot. Freddie Freeman kind of doesn't say a whole lot, when in the grand scheme of things. But I'm going to go with Matt Ryan because, again, the Falcons are his team. And it's going to be bad if the Falcons have to, part ways with him. I understand that. It's a business. But I think Freddie Freeman came up. He was kind of the second man to Chipper Jones. And that's fine. That's not taken away from him. He's a great player. And now you got Freddie with Ronald Acuna. He's kind of been there. You're in a franchise that's been better than the Falcons, quite frankly. I mean, they're just without question.
The Braves up there is one of them iconic franchises, man.
So when you think about like what's happened in Atlanta, the Braves have a history of winning. They've won 2 World Series, and that sort of thing, and so many great players. I think in terms of just straight ATL icon, Matt Ryan's going to be the bigger one. Went to the Super Bowl. I mean, there's no question in my mind. I mean, again, I've said that from the time Matt Ryan came in. And they broke that back-to-back winning seasons mess. You're like, this is the golden age of Falcons football.
Yeah.
You would say, like, oh man, because I'm always on BJ about, oh, you're living in the moment, man. No. Since Matt Ryan's coming, like this has been as good as it's been for Atlanta Falcons. I know they made it one time prior with Dan Reeves back in the late 90s, but no, consistently, this is as good as the Falcons have been ever in the history of the franchise. Is when Matt Ryan's been there. Took him to a Super Bowl. I know, maybe should have ran the ball, but whatever, didn't run the ball. I still say, Ben, and people forget about this, I'm going to go off on a little tangent. If the Falcons run the clock out in the Super Bowl, you could make a case that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones may have one of the biggest plays, catches in the Super Bowl. Where third down, you throw it to Julio Jones, he gets both toes in right on the sideline.
I'm still trying to figure out how he did that.
And he catches it, and everybody forgot about it 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
And again, it's not the same as the pick on the goal line or Montana to Clark in the back of the end zone. But it would have been one of the biggest clutch catches in the history of the Super Bowl to put that game away between Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. That's my little side tangent. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
You're right. You're right.
And the history of Matt, and again, the history of Matt Ryan is way different if they complete that little sequence. Like if they get that play from Julio, and then you burn the clock out, and Tom Brady doesn't do Tom Brady things, you talk about Matt Ryan completely differently. Completely.
Of course. I think, listen, Matt Ryan gonna always get a bad rap, man, because people always try to look at him what he doesn't do. Matt Ryan is top 10 all time in passing yards. Top 10. Matt Ryan in his division, it was Cam Newton, regular season MVP. It was Drew Brees, and when Jameis Winston moved on, it was Tom freaking Brady. So it's not like he didn't go up against his division was incredible. Then you look at the fact that he's played in the same time as some of these great quarterbacks. I think Matty Ice is underappreciated.
And again, I want to say, Ben, I'll go double check this in the break, but I want to say that Matt Ryan, up until last year, he had 9 straight seasons of 5,000 yards passing, and it got broke last year. He had 4,970. So it's like he almost
he's
got
consistent.
there. It's like, yeah.
And let's face it. He did it last year, right? When Calvin Ridley left, who was his receivers? I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's like, so I do think sometimes when we think about Matty Ice, the biggest thing Matty Ice has done, he's giving you consistency. 14 straight drafts. You don't have to worry about a quarterback. You know how much better that makes your team when all you got to do is build around him. Never really had a consistent defense. And look at how much better. I mean, Julio was Julio because Matty Ice was throwing him the rock, just like Roddy White. I mean, Tony Gonzalez already Tony Gonzalez. You're talking about Michael Burner.
Are you saying it wasn't the same when Steve Tannehill started throwing the ball?
I'm just saying. I remember. Listen, Michael Jenkins, as well as Roddy White, was there, the starting receivers when Michael Vick was there. It was Michael Vick and Algie Crumpler. Now Roddy White ended up to become an Atlanta Falcon icon, but he wasn't that when he was with Vick. And he remembered that too. He didn't like Atlanta media the same way Russell Westbrook don't like LA media right now. He did not like it because they was coming at him. Matty Ice comes in, Pro Bowler. Year in and year out, he's putting those type of numbers. So we just don't appreciate Matty Ice because we try to look at him based off what he didn't do. But Matty Ice I think Matty Ice has put together a Hall of Fame career because I just think that, Kevin, when you say, can you talk about the quarterback? Can you talk about the quarterback position, man, and what this man has meant to a franchise? I mean, I just think that love Freddie Freeman. But Freddie Freeman is going to be playing with a guy in Ronald Acuna Jr. that's going to probably shatter all kinds of records when this thing is all said and done. I love Julio. Julio is not Acuna. Julio is not looked upon as being one of the best talents we've seen in what? I mean, 100 years. This dude is the best. So I just think that we do what we do when we love a team, Kevin. We too hard on them when they lose, and we don't give them enough praise when they win. But Matty Ice is good regardless. Like, think about that. No matter who you give him, I mean, you ain't have 5,000 yards. Yeah, he came up 30 yards short.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. But so, yeah, man, and I hope that they go all in for Matty Ice, Kevin. I think he deserves a swan song. We'll see what happens.
Well, we've got more to come here. 3 and out. Free agency begins next week. Maybe they get him a little help there in free agency. That's Take 3. We do it every time. 3 and out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back to 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin and Ben here on this Friday. And Ben, Bobby Wagner, we talked about it in take 3. Would that be an option potentially for the Jacksonville Jaguars? He got cut by Seattle. And one of those things where he's like, man, I didn't even know. He kind of got the Ben Troop treatment where you found out on ESPN on the bottom line, said, hey. And I know he kind of said, man, I didn't even get told by the team, which is, you and I were talking about it, kind of like the day and age we live in where teams can't keep it quiet long enough to get the paperwork together to make it done before somebody's, texted Adam Schefter is like, hey, we're about to cut Bobby Wagner, right? Oh, and it's out. So as a player, is that just something that is just going to be a thing in the future where it's like, there's no way teams can keep deals quiet before they happen. And from here moving forward, it's probably, you're going to find out from somebody else before you find it out from the team.
Now, unless you Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey can keep secrets. I don't know how he do it. You better not say a word. No, I think Bobby Wagner just realized, look, Shaq, the great Shaq said he found out that he was traded on SportsCenter, right? Bobby Wagner has meant a lot to that franchise. I mean, he's been a much better player at his position than Russell Wilson has been in his position. But that's how it goes, Kevin. And then something you said that I think, how do we know that they weren't formulated? How we going to tell them? Hey, man, it leaked. What? Because upstairs in these franchises, that's a lot of people. A lot. All of them have Twitter. All of them have social media. All of them got cell phones, and all of them got the send button. So we don't know who leaked it. But Bobby Wagner, and they didn't even tell you what Bobby Wagner was. Was he in the facility working out? Was he on his way to the facility? Was he watching TV? It's unfortunate, but I think it shows that, look, when they need you, they need you. And when you're a camp casualty or a cap casualty, unfortunately, there is always a better way to do it. There's always a right way to do it. But we live in the age now, Kevin, that, I mean, news comes at you so fast. And then it used to be, a real news source comes out and they don't got the source. Now, somebody sends it out and we got the story. Wait a minute, here it comes. But yeah, Bobby, I understand his frustration. And I was nowhere near the player Bobby Wagner was. I mean, I just played the Falcons on Sunday. Monday, I go in and watch the film. Tuesday, my off day. My brother called me and said, man, you all right? You good? I'm good with what? Yeah, I'm fine. But they just cut you. Who? The Buccaneers. No, they didn't. I was just up there. Listen, I'm in my car. I go home. I turn on the TV. Bottom line, Ben Troop released by the Buccaneers. Mark Dominic called me, who was a scout, ended up being the GM. Say, hey, Ben, man, you got some, we know. I mean, hey, man, we appreciate everything you've done. A couple of my teammates, Alex Smith, the tight end, John Gilmore, different guys. I just think that it just becomes one of those things, Kevin. No one is bigger than the business. And Bobby, listen, whoever Bobby Wagner goes to, you are getting a big time player.
And I was just saying, that's a huge guy to be just floating around out there as well.
Bobby Wagner, number one, he's his own agent. He negotiates his own deals. Number two, he's been in the league 10 years. I think he's been a first team All-Pro, 6 of them. You know who was All-Pro the other years? Yeah, Luke Kuechly. So that's who he was going back and forth with, right? So that just shows you how good of a player he is. No. How great of a player he is. So now he's going to go to a team because he was gearing up for year number 11 with the Seahawks. They don't want him. Okay. Somebody finna get a treat. And I heard some rumors, and I hope this is not true. But I heard that old Jerry Jones want Bobby Wagner. May God help us all if that joker go to Dallas, because he is a tackling machine. Him and Micah Parsons and Trevon Diggs or whatever. Oh my God, it could be ugly. But I just think, Kevin, the business of any sport is bigger than the players. You wish that you got to do the whole they send you out the right way, but he'll be all right. He don't like it right now, but he'll still land on his feet.
Yeah, certainly a guy that's going to be a great player wherever he goes. So you look at some guys out there on the free agent wire. I mean, as we said, Falcons could have used a guy like that. Could they even afford him given their cap space?
Oh no, not Bobby Wagner, not Bobby Wagner. But I mean, it's other guys out there now. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu floating out there. And it's the thing too, Kevin. 30 in the NFL is old unless you're a quarterback. So these guys are, 29, 30, 31, 32. their biggest contract.
But you're looking for a quick fix, right?
Oh, of course. Listen, listen. We talked about this with the Falcons. They going all in for Chandler Jones. Just say that happens. Just say they managed to woo a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, for which I've heard that the Saints are really big on trying to get him. You get a guy like Tyrann. Now you got a guy that's a hybrid. Safety / corner / linebacker, because he get to play. Oh my. It's just so many. This is what happens when you got money to spend, people. When you have money in the bank. When you ain't got no money, you got to get creative. Terry Fontenot, if you can get Chandler Jones, get him. If you can get him a Chandler, because Kevin, I mean, if they end up getting a Chandler Jones and just say Bobby Wagner, say, hey, man, I'm looking at the NFC South. I think I can help Atlanta win. I think we can win it. Hey, I mean, I ain't counting his money, but the man is good at negotiating his bread. I don't see them getting both of those guys.
Again, the Falcons need help in a lot of places. Let's see how frugal they have to be in free agency. As we said, they reworking Matt Ryan's contract, try to free up some cap space. I know they were going to try to rework a couple other guys, Matthews, and potentially
No, you got Deion Jones. I know you got
Grady Jarrett. Try to free up some cap space so they could go out and try to improve that roster. We got so much more to get to here on 3 and Outs. Quarterbacks floating around out there in the National Football League as well. We could have quite the rotation by the time this is all said and done. We'll hit that when we return. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here on this Friday, man. So much is happening here, Ben, on a Friday afternoon. Normally, you think about the Friday news dump and you go, well, that's not a good thing. You know, the old Friday news dump will just put something out there and people will forget about it over the weekend. I mean, you got baseball transactions happening. Unfortunately, not a Freddie Freeman to the Braves transaction just yet, Ben, but we're hopeful for that one. Potentially, it could happen. You've got potential free agency happening in the National Football League. I mean, I say potential. It's going to happen next week, but teams can work deals and then make it official next week in terms of free agency guys getting cut. And within the last minute, Deshaun Watson apparently will not face any criminal charges, which, again, was accused of a lot, apparently not going to face any criminal charges, which kind of opens him back up to be available to the National Football League once again. And a lot of folks saying that he may have a new home by the time we get to next week and teams start potentially trading and doing free agent deals.
Wow. Watch out. I mean, Kevin, you think about the quarterback moves this week. It started with obviously Aaron Rodgers, 4 years, $200 million, $153 million guaranteed. And you talk about the big trade that sent shockwaves through the NFL world with the Seattle Seahawks trading, Russell Wilson to Denver. And then we started saying, okay, where would these other quarterbacks land? You start thinking about a guy like Deshaun Watson, like Mitchell Trubisky, like Jimmy Garoppolo, like Cam Newton, like Jameis Winston, like Colin Kaepernick. I know.
Dog, I mean, he's been out of the league 5 years.
Well, I think with anything, Kevin. Well, think about this. I mean, do you bring him to camp? I mean, is he? Because think about how many guys get invited to camp that's not going to be on the squad.
I understand that, but
Tim Tebow.
I was going to say, is that like a Tim Tebow type thing, though?
It could be, but what is it going to hurt if he's a guy that you can bring a camp? But I think the domino is Deshaun Watson. He is the one that's highly sought after. He is going to be a guy that's going to generate a lot, because that's what teams was waiting on, right? I mean, we've heard some rumblings, Kevin, that he might have some ties to Carolina. Now, Deshaun Watson go to Carolina. Hey man, cancel Christmas. It's because that roster top to bottom is pretty freaking loaded. I just think that you're missing a piece like a guy like a Deshaun Watson. If Matt Rule, I mean, since he's been there, it's been real lackluster since he got hired coming from Baylor. But those quarterbacks, nobody pushes the needle more than those quarterbacks. I mentioned Mitchell Trubisky. Somebody's going to try to give him a go. Jameis Winston has finally looked like he's going to be healthy. We talk about Cam Newton. Where is he going to end up at? Jameis Winston and guys of that nature. I mean, I just think that when you start talking about quarterback playing the National Football League, it's so dismal because you got the upper echelon guys, and most of those guys are in the AFC West. And then you talk about a Kyler Murray, you talk about a Dak Prescott, you talk about Aaron Rodgers, and you talk about a Matty Ice. Matty Ice is the best quarterback in the NFC South, hands down. The best quarterback right now in the AFC South might be Ryan Tannehill, and not because he's better than Trevor Lawrence, but because he's a vet. Because Carson Wentz moved on to the NFC East. I don't even know that's another guy that moved on to so the Colts need a quarterback. I mean, obviously, a team like New Orleans needs a quarterback. Carolina needs a quarterback. So we'll see what happens. But Deshaun Watson saying no criminal charges.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that is going to be huge. And right now, whoever's trying to get him, I mean, Kevin, they trying to go all in for him. Obviously, I think he's still going to be disciplined by the league. And I think because he's not going to be criminally charged, I think that might go from 8 games to 6, maybe 4, because he's not going to be because what happens in civil court case or the criminal justice system has nothing to do with what happens in the NFL. That's two totally different entities, but it helps when the suspension, because the suspension ain't came out yet, right? They want to wait because they want to. All right, you see nothing happen over there, but the perception, do we give him 4? They're going to give him 4 at least.
But I mean, a team that takes him obviously be willing to wait out the 4 games out of 17.
Of course, I mean, you can listen. Deshaun Watson, it's never been about the talent on the field. I think a couple of years ago he led the league in freaking passing yards, and his team was awful.
Let me ask you this, just to throw it out there. Obviously, he's a big time talent, but we've talked about this with. I'm just drawing a blank. I'm going to Calvin Ridley with the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he'll be a year, Deshaun Watson, without playing football on a competitive level. Hasn't been, as far as I know, has not been at the facility at the workouts with the Texans. Even if he wasn't going to play,
yeah,
haven't been involved in that. what kind of quarterback are you getting after a year of basically non-playing? I mean, and again, I know 1 year maybe, but I mean, you talk about with certain guys where Calvin Ridley, you getting up to close to 2 years where he wouldn't have played because of injury and suspension. I mean, what kind of drop off do you expect from Deshaun Watson at the quarterback spot? I know still pretty young, but not playing is still not playing.
I expect there to be some drop off, maybe some. I would say rust more than drop off, Kevin, because he, like you said, he ain't been doing nothing. I mean, the guy has hopefully been staying in shape, throwing the football. He don't lose that though. Deshaun Watson been playing quarterback his whole life. The guy can throw the football, and the guy can still play the game. He just need to have a team around him. He unfortunately he didn't benefit from how well he played at Clemson because he went to a real bad organization. But they got rid of everybody. They got rid of D-Hop. Got rid of everybody he can even throw the football to. And obviously, because with his off the field stuff, he spent a year away from football. It's going to be interesting to see, but I do think you put him in the right system. I think he's going to be lights out because, like I said, man, he was a good player on a really, really bad team. You add him to be a missing piece to an already sleeping giant like maybe the Carolina Panthers. Oh, my God.
And that's just something that we –
Yeah. He's going to –
rumors
he's going to have a lot of – I've heard two teams, both in the NFC South. I've heard Carolina and I've heard Tampa Bay. Deshaun Watson go to Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians gonna really, really think he a Hall of Fame coach then because he's getting all these guys. But we'll see. But but Deshaun Watson news makes everything different. Cam Newton says he wants to go to a quote contender. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy that's been a proven winner. He's going to have a team around him. Jameis Winston is coming off injury. Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, people just seem to think he's just a guy that you could definitely build a franchise around, or at least this is all about a slot field till that 2023 draft, Kevin, because with CJ Stroud and different guys coming out. I was going to say,
would you rather have one of those guys than one of the guys out of the draft?
Like
I'm saying, I mean, that's why I brought it up with the Falcons. Like, if you get rid of Matt Ryan for whatever, if you're trying to just free up space, would you rather have Jameis for 1 year than one of these quarterbacks in the draft? Because I think I would.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, as you said. CJ
I look at it like this. I'd rather have Jameis Winston for 1 year if I know that one, he can help us win, and two, I feel as though if I can't get one of those guys in the draft, I can get one of these guys coming up in free agents because you got a lot of guys. Kyler Murray is not happy right now. In Arizona ain't too happy with him. I just think you got a lot of guys that still have some quality football in front of them. But the quarterback position, Kevin, we gonna overreach for him. We're gonna overextend for him. We're gonna overspend for him because they are the straw. That stirs the drink. I get that part, but just like I know. Look at the playoffs. Name a team that was in the playoffs and have at least okay, because Ryan Tannehill wasn't elite, but had at least okay quarterback to elite quarterback play. You're not getting in there with a guy that's going to be, a slot filler. Because I said this morning, unless you're going to have a team, a quarterback that plays okay in the regular season and has an Eli Manning type playoff run or Nick Foles playoff run or a Joe Flacco playoff run, it's going to be a long postseason or a very, very short one at that.
Joe Flacco had a great defense.
He had the great. He might have. Well, he had.
He was 6'7". In case you didn't know,
he had the greatest, arguably the greatest defensive linebacker in Ray Lewis, and he had Ed Reed,
100%,
and Terrell Suggs. So
and the Goose, and I mean, loaded on that defense side of the ball. We got more to come. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you on this Friday. Kevin and Ben here with you. Did want to give a shout out to Windsor Forest. Tough one in the state championship game. The Knights playing in the state championship game this afternoon against Cross Creek. They come up short 60-53, but a tremendous season there for Windsor Forest. Came up just short in the state championship. I think actually had it tied with about 4 minutes to go in that ball game and just came up a little bit short. But you put a run together to go to Macon. You have done some work, and congratulations to those young men there at Windsor Forest.
Yeah, congratulations to them. I mean, Kevin, something we talked about. I mean, whether it's high school, college, pro, semi-pro, winning championships are extremely difficult at every level, but they're precious. And sometimes, man, you come up a little bit short. I mean, no one wants to be on the losing end to the team that wins the championship. A shout out to Windsor Forest, man. I mean, when you think about it, Kevin, people thinking Windsor Forest, it ain't football season. No, them boys doing it in both football season and basketball season now. But hey, man, nothing to feel bad about. Those guys traveled up there to make it, came up a little bit short, man. But shout out to the team on an incredible season.
Absolutely. Again, a lot more to get to here on the show as we get ready to move into the final hour of the week. You got college basketball going on. The SEC already been some upsets. Ben, Auburn getting beat by Texas A&M today. I think Auburn was the number 1 seed, got beat by Texas A&M, the 8 seed. Could we see a Duke-Carolina rematch for the ACC championship? Is it Coach K revenge time, or do those Tar Heels hit him again?
Kevin, you know what I'm pulling for. I'm pulling for them Tar Heels. Listen, sometimes you got to do things for something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, both of them got to get 2 games tonight, but it could happen.
But wouldn't it be fitting if old Coach K say, and you know you're gonna say, yeah, that's what we knew we were gonna do the whole time. We were gonna just let them beat us in the regular season. No. But right now, it's a bunch of blue bloods. Them blue bloods come out. The Kentuckys, right? The North Carolinas, the Dukes. But now, Kevin, if North Carolina and Duke find themselves playing each other, for the tournament championship, and North Carolina do it. Listen, do it. That's the evil empire of college basketball. But no, man, if Coach K goes out on top like that, they're making it into the tournament. But if he wins the tournament, tournament championship, man, so be it.
Did you see? I mean, I don't know if you did, Ben. Did you see the Tyler Hansborough video he made after North Carolina beat Duke? Tyler Hansborough, of course, North Carolina legendary player, comes out. They were talking about, Coach K's last game, and he said something basically to the effect of, he goes, yeah, that's one of those things where they did an episode on some show where Larry David, he comes to his funeral before he dies so everybody can tell him how great he is. I was like, oh man, North Carolina, there is zero love loss.
Zero
for
and
Duke,
and that's how it should be. Like the thing is too, I don't know what made people what I appreciate about Hansbrough, what he did was, Kevin, was he goes, look, what you think I'm finna say something? Listen, I'm not in the NBA anymore, right? I hopefully wherever I work, hopefully I own my own business so I can't lose it. But it's like, why are you asking me? Ask me about Roy Williams. Don't ask me about Coach K. We don't
ask me about Hubert Davis. He just beat him.
Yeah. Don't ask me about. Listen, we don't like them. They on one end of Tobacco Road. We on the other end of Tobacco Road. We think our tradition is just as great as theirs. Coach K is a legendary coach, right? You know what he should have said? They ain't got Michael Jordan, no. How about that? So I'm just saying, I appreciate him saying, yeah, man, that man said he could come to his funeral so he get what everybody say about him. I love it. I love it.
So basically show up to his funeral so everybody can tell him how great he was there at the end. But yeah, I love it. I think unfortunately you have to go all the way to, Brooklyn to be able to play this game potentially. But if both teams win tonight, and we'll have ACC basketball following 3 and out here coming up at 6:30. If both Duke and Carolina win tonight, they will play Saturday night for the ACC championship. And that could be, again, you talk about the last home game was Duke Carolina, could be the last ACC tournament game, could be Duke Carolina, and Carolina could have a chance to, don't think they're ever going to let you, Coach K left. Not once, but twice in the farewell ACC tournament game, farewell home game, gave him that L. Coach K couldn't beat the Tar Heels on the way out.
It'll be beautiful.
That would be amazing. Yes. But it could happen. I'm here for it. Yes. Again, Duke Carolina is one of those, even if you don't care, obviously a lot of Georgia fans care about Duke Carolina. But if you, I
grew up in North Carolina though. Doesn't matter.
But if you don't have a rooting interest, you can sit back and go, man, these two teams really don't like each other, and not most of the time you get high level basketball. Yes. At the end of the day, and what fun that will be if that is for the ACC championship game tomorrow night. So much to get to. coming up in the final hour of the program. Then, of course, deals starting to come out and happen around Major League Baseball. Some thoughts about what the Braves are doing with Freddie Freeman potentially. Are they making backup plans? What is happening there? Some kind of leaked reports about what the Braves are doing here at this hour on a Friday afternoon. Of course, you look at the NFL. Deshaun Watson cleared on. There will be no charges pressed against Deshaun Watson, so he's back out there in the market. This could be one of the wilder weekends and weeks in sports where you have football going into free agency, baseball free agency trades, trying to ramp up a season. A lot of wild stuff happening over the next 3-4 days in the sports world, including, like I said, Deshaun Watson back out there. Could he be on the trade block? A lot of people think, hey, he could be going to Carolina, could be going to Tampa, and it could happen as soon as like Monday, Tuesday of next week. So things are going to be hitting quick here on the sports calendar.
Hey, Kevin, I mean, listen, baseball, they got that deal done right in time, Kevin, because like you said, we're going to fill those slots. I mean, what? Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, they leaving that work. I mean, it's sports. It's like a sports friendly. But shout out to I guess now with Deshaun Watson, not getting criminally charged, Kevin, he's going to be highly sought after. Freddie Freeman, come on, Addison Anthopoulos. So from announcers, the quarterbacks, the freaking baseball players, it's news all over the place.
Before we step out this hour, because speaking of breaking news, because you talked about this you were on another show earlier today, so I'm going to ask you now: is it true you ate a dog biscuit? Like I'm just saying, I'm just going to bring that up.
Let me just say, I didn't eat. I didn't eat.
Sampled?
I did take, like, back in the day when I had my little dog. Her name was Fancy. She was, and to my Florida Gator fans, she was an English Bulldog, by the way. Just to throw salt in the wound. I mean, I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, you eating this thing like it's supposed to be the truth. I could barely give it to you eating out my hands. So I tried it, and it tasted like cardboard nothingness. Like,
was it supposed to taste like something?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I was just like,
no, I'm saying, was it like a peanut butter treat or something?
I think it was like flavor. It was a different type of nasty, and I was just like, what it was. I spit it out, and my dog went and ate the part. Like, she's trying to eat the part that I spit out my mouth. She looked at me like, "That's mine, bro." She's like, "I don't eat your stuff, do you? I don't eat your stuff." So let me. No, I did try, but some guy. I was on another show, and some guy was saying, "Yeah, man, I never I never tried a doggy treat or whatever, but I did kind of use the little shot collar and the invisible fence." So as crazy as mine was, but he said he put the shot collar on his ankle, and I might have ran through the invisible fence. So you are physically giving yourself willing pain. I'm not doing that. But to those people who are the dog lovers out there, it was nasty.
Yeah, no, I'm probably not eating dog food. Like I've never tried it. Don't really want to. I know people say, well, it's made out of stuff.
It's made out of fish and chicken.
It's made out of food that people eat.
It's made out of nothingness. It's made out of the nastiest things on earth.
I'm not eating something called kibble. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm not eating kibble. We'll come back. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Final hour of 3 and Out on this Friday. Glad you're with us. Thanks for making us a part of your day. A lot to get to as college basketball tournaments going on right now. Already upsets in the SEC and elsewhere. Certainly baseball continues to be in the news as they get to the agreement yesterday. And people saying, well, where's all the deals? There's been a flurry of deals this afternoon. So far, none that involve the Atlanta Braves that people want to get excited about. True. Before we get to the latest with baseball, I've got to follow up. Because we talked about eating dog food at the end of the last hour. And you said, hey, I tried a little dog treat. Okay. And then you said on that show that you run, somebody said, what about the wet dog food?
Yeah,
and to me, that's worse.
Oh, yeah.
Like that looks disgusting.
Like this, what happened was, I mean, they asked me about, did I have a dog? And I was like, no. I said, because I remember the days when dogs used to live outside. They was, they had a chain on the tree and they had a dog house. They was like, dogs don't live outside the mom. I said, my mom has a dog. My brother has dogs. My sister has a dog. I said, I don't have a dog because I have to travel all the time, so I don't have a dog. So I said, have you ever tried a dog treat? I said, man, I tried one. Like I nibbled on it.
Never wanted to.
I said, this is back in, this is back in my 20s. Like, early 20 days, just curious, shouldn't have done it. Then somebody else calls in. Like, hey, they was like this. It was like, well, Ben, you tried the wrong. You're supposed to try the soft kind. And I'm like, this isn't a show about what dog food tastes the best. Dog food is nasty. And the thing is, and that's when, so the guy calls in and say, he eats the soft. He said, and he was like, he said, well, how often do you eat it, sir? Now and again. Like, like not all the time. And then that's when the other guy calls in and said, he didn't eat the dog food, but he did put the electric, the electric shock thing around your neck, and then the electric fence, at the invisible fence. So it started off, they asked me a question thinking that I didn't do it. Obviously I did, or I fessed up to it. But it got weird after that because people started saying, oh, yeah, I do this. And I'm like, let me tell y'all something. I said, dogs are like people, man.
Like I could see like the little doggy cookies or the little something like you break off pieces, like maybe curiosity, but the wet dog food looks disgusting.
I mean, think about this. When you take it out the can,
and it's got that fat jelly just all over it. Gross.
And it makes it like when it comes out. That's that. And in a sense, right? The dog looking at you. There is nothing about it that makes me go, I'm about to tear this up.
That dog loves it.
I can't wait to get to the house so I can tell. Do you know how crazy? Like we listen. I mean, we've done some crazy things in our lives. That's one thing we've never seen. Like, yeah, man, I went to my friend's house. He opened up the pedigree. And I'm thinking, what you about to do? You ain't got no dog. He said, you want some? Hell no. You about to eat this? Yeah, I'm about to tear this up. I'm about to put it in the microwave. That's nasty.
Yeah, like, I don't know why.
I mean, in a sense, if I came in here smelling like dog food, you be like, dude, you smell like dog food all the time. You got dog? No, man, I had to go home for lunch. That's nasty. No, like wet, doggy treat, vegan. I don't care if they got vegan options. It's nasty. Don't try it. I just did it because my dog used to love these things. I'm like, well, what? I'm like, what is this? So, I probably shouldn't agree to it, but I opened up the can of worms, Kevin, when I did admit to.
I appreciate the fact that you said you did it.
Hey,
That's
man,
fine. I'm not saying it makes you a bad human being at all. I'm not.
I'm just saying, what's the nastiest thing you've ever eaten? You like, what is this? Like, that's nasty.
I'm pretty picky about what I eat. So I don't think because I'm usually will be like not doing it. It's like, I will flat out.
Let me
see
like, that.
Hey, if you don't eat this, you're a wimp. Fine. I'm like not doing it. I've never done the dog. I've never I'm not gonna say I've looked at it and say like, okay, that looks interesting, but I'm still like, it's dog food. I'm not gonna eat it, especially the dry kibble stuff. Like I'm not doing that. No, I wouldn't say like I even bird seed. I wouldn't even really like. No, I don't even know about that.
No, man. I mean, I don't think it's nasty, but the gas station food. But this what I mean by the gas station food. I'm not talking about the hot dog,
like the taquitos and the rollers.
No, not those. I can tear those up. I'm talking about you in a small little rural town, and you get to the front, and you got the eggs in the water. Or you got
the pickled eggs. I'm not doing that.
You got the pickled pig feet in the red water.
I'm not doing that.
Right at the front, right?
Yeah.
And the thing, I think it's a movie. I think it's called Ladies Man. I think with Don. I can't remember the guy's.
No, not Don Cheadle. It's he used to be on Saturday Night Live. I know something. Yeah.
But listen. So because
Leon Phelps.
Leon Phelps. Yes, it's like and listen, John Witherspoon, man, he recipes when they say, hey people, when they go, hey people, somebody eating the food, somebody really eating it. Let me tell you something. You pulling stuff out of red water, and they got to get the tassels, and they got to get the juice off, and you say like, "Ooh, give me that big one right there." I'm not like so. To me, that's the stuff. I will. Let me just go ahead. My daddy will tear that
The
stuff.
pickled pig's feet.
But
So, no,
listen,
I'm not doing it.
my mom said, we be in the car. And I'm like, John, would you come on? And he get in the car, like, you're going to have to drive. I'm like, what is that? Because he got the pig. It's like,
No, that's gross. that's great. Like, look, I will say this. Like, there are certain things that I'm not doing. And food is one of those things where people are like, oh, just try it. I'm not trying it. Like, pickled anything, not doing it. I don't like pickles. I don't like the way pickles smell. I don't like pickled juice. I get it. So that's why it's like, there are people that'll turn a jar and go, pickle juice, good for the cramps. Well, guess what? I guess I'm just going to cramp up. I mean, that's all I got to say. I'm not going to do it. There's stuff swimming in red liquid, not going to do it. Pickled anything, not eating pickles. Like that's what's great. Like people go to the gas station bin, you get those jumbo pickles. Not doing it. I would say like the word. And again, I've eaten some stuff at gas station. It's not going to be that.
No, I will.
Not gonna
So
do that.
you would never. You never. Well, you ain't eat pickles. You ain't eat the pickle in the pouch.
No.
Oh, so Kevin. So listen, I'm a country boy. I'm from a country town. So
I would rather have Vienna sausage juice than
I
have
will
anything.
tear.
I'm just saying.
All
Have
I'm
anything.
saying is, like, listen, as my many years of eating gas station food, I ain't never that jar with the red water. I ain't eating nothing in it. My mama said my daddy go in there rubbing his hands together, like, ooh, let me get 2 of them today. And he would tear. And my mama like, what? And he like, hey, you want some of this? Listen, you don't. If you eat pickled pig feet or the hog maws or the because I know that stuff. They bought that stuff back in like 2018, 2017, and it just sit there. And somebody go, hey, go get the tassels out the back. Somebody want one of these pickled pig feet.
So because it's pickled, does it just stay good forever?
I guess that's, listen, I mean, I guess.
Somebody hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. If you have something that's pickled, does it just like not have an expiration date?
Yeah,
or if it does, is it like
it's like
I don't know.
Like,
I'm asking.
Like aged meat. You want, as long as you age it, I guess, like beef or whatever, I guess that's what makes it better, or steak or what may have you. If you got something that's pickled, that's sitting in a jar, sometimes the jar gonna be white, sometimes the jar color gonna be red. In either case, it's nasty as hell. I'm not eating it. But does that make it last longer? Because my daddy is a food connoisseur. He got listen. We got stomachs like Billy Goats, boy. We can put anything in them tummies. Ain't nothing finna happen to us. I'm telling you.
I honestly don't know. I'm asking seriously.
Yeah. At Pigskin Radio, if it's pickled, does that make it last longer? And do you eat gas station food? And I'm not talking about the hot dogs. I'm talking about the stuff in the front. Like, they put it to where it's unavoidable because it's at the cash register. So it's right there. You see what I'm saying? Because they're like, when we put it back here, anybody go eat it.
The guy, I'm not looking at it. I mean, yeah, no.
Kevin, you want one of these?
No, I understand what you're talking about. I totally understand what you're talking about.
And now, Kevin, you're gonna notice.
I didn't mean to send us down this tangent, but you were talking about dog food, and then you're like, well, I mean, I'm not eating pickled stuff. I will say this. I will eat a spoon of mayonnaise before I will eat. And again, I don't really care. I actually like mayonnaise. I'm not like BJ, and some of these people are like, no, can't do it. But I would rather have that because I can stand mayonnaise than pickled stuff. Like, I know people just turned off into the ditch when I said, hey, I just eat regular. But I'm not saying I go home and like get the mayonnaise jar. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But I mean, I would rather do that.
And for those of you who do that, that is and like for those of you that sit there and eat the mayonnaise like it's ice cream, that's nasty as hell, man.
I'm not going to stand up here and lie and say that I've never eaten like a mayonnaise sandwich. I have.
I mean, no. But what I'm saying is, a mayonnaise sandwich is mayonnaise in between 2 pieces of bread.
Yeah,
but just say, if somebody said, "Man, throw me that mayonnaise,
I'm not probably going to
give me a spoon." I seen some lady at like a hockey game. And they looking at her, and she got the big gigantic like thing of mayonnaise, and then people
was it actually mayo, or was it like just a joke?
It was mayo. And then she dipped it in and ate it. People and the whole state like, that's nasty. And she looking like, what? That's nasty. That's what that is. You looking at me like.
But no, I've seen people do that where it's like they'll have a tub and they'll say mayonnaise on it. It's really like ice cream, and they're like, it's good, and people be grossed out by it. But no.
All I'm saying is, I was at the Bennett household during the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and they did a commercial where people was drinking the whole milk, and then it got real chunky, and the whole house. I will say this: the pickled pig's feet, the pickled eggs, the hog maws, or whatever they got in the front.
Now, will you eat the gas station like deviled eggs?
I mean, I might. I mean, I eat the pickles. I ain't never had the eggs. I will say this though: when I was in high school, some of the girls in high school would get that for like breakfast, and they come in and I'm like this. I say, I'm not I'm telling you what you should do. You shouldn't be coming up in here with your breath smelling like 3 p.m. and it's 8 a.m. Cause you and then got what's up, man? What's up? Like I can see what you're saying.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I don't care how much Listerine, brush your teeth.
Yeah, that's gross.
You eat a pickled egg in the morning and good night. You go, welcome. Yes, stay over there with that. I mean, your breath smell like an accident. That's awful. I'm just saying, they used to do that all the time. They're like, why y'all don't want to talk to us in the morning? Why do you think? Deviled egg? Get on out of here with that. But no, my dad was somewhere going right now at a gas station saying, rubbing his hands together saying, please let me get 2 of those right there at the bottom. No, give me that big one down there at the bottom, real juicy. And my mama said, I don't know why you do it. I'm going to ask my mama in the break. I'm saying, Mama, what do daddy eat? He's like, ooh, Johnny, eat all that stuff. So my dad, I told you, something like a billy goat. He eat anything.
Take it away. I never want to see that again. I don't even want the smell of it. That turns my stomach. I did not mean to go down this route. From dog food to pickles. What will Kevin and Ben not eat? That's what we're getting to here on the show. We'll get you the latest from baseball. Where's Freddie Freeman going? We'll get you the latest on what the Braves might be looking at when we return. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. course, we're all happy baseball is back. We'll have games next week. I think the Braves Grapefruit League opener coming up next Thursday or Friday down in South Florida. Of course, they've got a lot of business to take to get to in between their bin. And, of course, priority number one, sign Freddie Freeman. Now, people say, well, what about Jorge Soler? I think Freddie Freeman is the first and foremost, because if you don't get him, Ben, you've got nothing. You got nothing as far as the minor leagues are concerned right now in regards to a major league potential ready player at first base. People say, well, why don't you move Austin Riley over there? What, are you serious? Like, he just had an MVP season at third base. Why would you want to do that to a young player? We have seen reports that the Braves have apparently reached out to Oakland about Matt Olson, who is the Oakland first baseman. I know they wanted the Yankees' number one prospect reportedly before the lockout started. So if you want to get an idea about what they could possibly be asking the Braves for at the end of the day, might that be something that's out there? But the Braves are making contingency plans. And some people will say, is that a sign they think he's gone, or are they just doing their due diligence? I think right now probably more just due diligence. Like, I don't think the Braves made one phone call to Freddie Freeman since the lockout lifted and said, hey, Freddie, it's been 3 months. I'm Alex. Good to talk to you again. Hey, here's the deal. Nope. Oh, okay. We're fine. No, I think the Braves are going to try to get this done. But, Ben, you would also be yelling at at Alex Anthopoulos if he came out and it's announced, hey, Freddie Freeman is signing with Team X. And Alex Anthopoulos goes, that was kind of surprising. I don't know what we're going to do. No, you have to prepare for some of those things. So I think the Braves want him back. But does it concern you as a fan? I mean, fans love to get emotional on social media, especially that the Braves were at least exploring background options. And again, much like take emotion aside, much like we talked about with Matt Ryan, people will be like, oh, I'm going to start crying if Matt Ryan goes for the Falcons. Look, I'm not saying I'll be the happy guy out there if Freddie Freeman wears some disgusting pinstripes, or if Freddie Freeman goes out and wears Dodger blue. I would not be happy about that. But I think the Braves have a team that if you can make a trade for a Matt Olson will still be very, very good. Very, very good. We started doing this before the show. I looked at potential lineup. If you could say midseason, I've got Acuna, Albies. Say it has to be a Matt Olson. Austin Riley. Maybe Marcell Ozuna still out there. Adam Duvall. Travis d'Arnaud, Dansby Swanson, and a DH, which you can feel. Maybe that's a Jorge Soler. That's a good lineup.
Great lineup.
That is that's one where there's not an easy out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not saying it's going to be the best if Freddie Freeman goes elsewhere, Ben. But again, I think Braves fans, if it does, it can't be like, well, it's the Braves' fault. They disrespected him. I think the Braves are doing what they feel is the best, and we'll see if they go up on their offer. I mean, you look at how negotiations just worked for 90 days with billions of dollars at stake between the players in Major League Baseball. I think the Braves, now with a little bit new kind of compensation structure, I mean, keep in mind, some of these cats the Braves were paying $200,000, $300,000 to, all of a sudden they got to pay $700,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, again, that's a drop in the bucket for what Fred, but you still got to pay it. That's going to be interesting to see how that factors in here when you up some of the minimums. And you're talking about a guy that probably wants, at least for the Braves, a record contract for what Atlanta traditionally does. And the Braves made him an offer where he would have been, at least in terms of annual salary, one of the highest paid or the highest paid first baseman in terms of 1 year annual salary. So I think, again, we're all waiting on pins and needles, and I hope it doesn't happen. But the Braves are obviously out there making contingency plans as well.
They have to. And I think you said it right, Kevin. I mean, if Freddie Freeman is no longer going to be a Brave, and as the Thomas goes, oh man, well we kind of like well we just swung and missed on this one. No, you got to have a contingency plan. You got Well, the thing is this. I mean, Alex Anthopoulos has proven that, man, he's up for the job since he got there. People thought that him and Snit was not going to be a match made in heaven, and it's been. They still, I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr. has been better than advertised. Freddie Freeman is obviously a priority, Kevin. But like you said, because of the group that owns the freaking Braves, you can only offer so much. That's what the group is saying. It doesn't matter how Alex Anthopoulos feels. It doesn't matter how we feel. It doesn't matter how his teammates feel. This is where we're going, because I understand that I do think they're going to go up some. That's still more than they want to pay. I mean, when you start talking about these front offices, I mean, the Braves, unfortunately, for the group that owns the Braves are not only a contender, they are the defending World Series champions. So you talk about a team that you don't want to go out there, Kevin, and just say, okay, you don't want to lose Freddie Freeman, but dude, if he's just out of our price range, he's out of our price range. And that doesn't mean it would be different if we did not make him an offer at all. And if they go up, because Kevin, I don't think they're going to give him the 170. Would they?
You give him 6 years. I mean,
yeah, 150 maybe. Because my thing is this: if Freddie Free wants 170, and they offer him 150, that's a lot of money less than what he wants. A lot. I think that gets the Braves closer because I think he's going to have opportunities to get endorsement deals or what, because his team is on the right.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, but here's the thing. And again, I think for Freddie Freeman, it's about security for the Braves. I think if they give him the 6 year, that might be a little better because I know the Yankees and Dodgers probably going to offer close to $200 million. I mean, because they literally don't care. Like I say they don't care, but I mean, they literally can go and say, do we really want this guy? We do.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, they color outside the lines.
Yeah,
yes.
we're gonna break the bank to make sure we get him. So I think for Freddie, it's just, hey, give me that contract. And again, this is in an ideal world, and the Braves have to deal with some of that, and also then with the reality of not just, do we want Freddie Freeman right now? Yeah. What is that going to do to our bottom line in year 6 of this thing when we're trying to still be, competing, and we're going to pay Freddie $30 million? And again, my counter to that would be Albert Pujols. And I know BJ said, well, look, he's first baseman. He could DH, so it shouldn't drop off. Well, people said that about Albert Pujols. Got a 10-year deal. And since then has gotten way worse, been traded to the Dodgers. Now a free agent. He's trying to hang on to get to 700 home runs, which he's not that far off. But I mean, for a long time, it was that contract was just an albatross around the Angels. So I'm thinking you don't want to get there and say, hey, it's time to pay Acuna. It's time to re-up and make an extension with Ozzie because they've outplayed their $80 million and $100 million contracts, of which, their average annual value is not that big. It's time to pay them. Well, we can't. Why is that? Because Freddie's got 2 more years left at $30 million apiece. That's the situation they don't want to get in, where it's like, hey, we could choose one or the other. We have to make a call. I don't think Alex Anthopoulos, long-term thinking, wants to do that. And I know that's something that fans look at and say, well, who cares? We can stink 6 years from now because I want the World Series we just got and try to win another one, and we can stink. You say that now, and then when you stink, you'll be like, Alex, you got us in this crap deal, and we're not competing. What's it like? Fans are very finicky when it comes to long-term thinking. Okay, I'll be willing to suck 6 years from now. Will you? Because there's plenty of teams that have employed that strategy, and guess what? Fans are still out there complaining that the team's not good.
I mean, but you're breaking it down too, Kevin. Like, look, it's supposed to be complicated. Like when it comes to the media, when it comes to people who are enthused, Braves fans, Freddie Freeman fans. I mean, from his backstory to his family to him becoming a Braves, his mother, his father, his brothers, there's not a lot to not love about Freddie Freeman. He has been lights out. When you start talking about the trajectory, I can't even say the word, the path of a future Hall of Famer, that's Freddie Freeman, what he's doing. But unfortunately, Kevin, he costs a lot. He's going to cost a lot. Freddie Freeman was going to cost a lot no matter who he played for with these type of numbers, MVP or not, World Series or not. But now, Alex Anthopoulos, this is going to really come down to how much Freddie Freeman loves being a Brave. That's what it's going to come down to. Alex Anthopoulos and them, they're going to look, man, we're going to try our best to work with you. We're going to do our best to give you the best, possible deal we can give you from the Braves. And then you got to wait and see. I mean, I know you're talking about Olsen, Kevin, from the A's. Look, you got to have a contingency plan. The Braves got to keep going because since Alex Anthopoulos has been there, all they know is making the playoffs and winning this division. That's all he knows. They're not going backwards. And they love Freddie Free, but we're not going, dude, we won it with, you know how you know the sign of a good team? Everybody you got to trade deadline contributed in the postseason, and you won it without Acuna. If that ain't the sign of a good team, nothing is. Because take a young phenom off of any team, see if they can still win it. So all I'm saying is, Alex Anthopoulos goes, look, man, I might have superseded expectations a bit too early. Because I remember, Kevin, when everybody was like, it's all in for 2019, right? Then 2020 came, and then, oh, dude, we sitting there. We what 4 hours away from going to the World Series, and obviously you woke up that freaking giant known as the freaking Dodgers, and you see what happened. But then the next year, so they kept going up. Played well, 2018. Played well 2019. Right in the NLCS 2020. Then you went out in 2021. and now he would go with Freddie Freeman. We'll see what happens, Kevin, but I do agree. Alex, if he doesn't sign with the Braves, it's because they cannot afford to pay what other teams can pay. And that happens every year in sports with a player. So that means that, unfortunately, like you said, that Dodger blue, or good God, those pinstripes, Jesus. I don't even want to, I couldn't, I love Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman, I don't want to start saying I can't stand Freddie Freeman because he with them pinstripes. But the pinstripes don't play fair. They can get anybody, and they know they can. So if they come snooping around, well, I mean, you just got that caliber of a player. But Olsen, Kevin, if he is the contingency plan, that's a pretty good one. That's a pretty freaking good plan if you can get him. Because the one thing I know, he knows what's going on with the Braves. The last time I checked, the A's ain't winning anything besides making really, really good movies. Brad Pitt, great job. They ain't winning no World Series. So if Olsen is the contingency plan, that does give me a little bit more comfort, Kevin. Even though I still want Freddie.
You're going to have to give up a lot for Matt Olson, which the Braves have some pieces they could give up in order to do that. Why? Because they're deep with the pitching staff, and some of their top prospects right now are outfielders. So, and they're, again, if you bring back Ozuna, you've got Adam Duvall, you've got Acuna. If you re-sign a Soler, you've got plenty of guys there that can play in the outfield for you on a daily basis. I think the Braves can do that. But Matt Olson, if you trade for him, he's still got 2 years under contract. So it's not like you trade, you make a deal and you only get a player for one season. He's got 2 years left on the contract. He hit 39 homers last year, 111 RBIs, and he's got 2 Gold Gloves. I mean, you're losing a big timer in Freddie Freeman, and you're getting a guy who also could put up big numbers and plays Gold Glove defense.
I mean, 39 homers, Gold Glover. That's pretty freaking good. 39. I mean, I don't know if Freddie Freeman.
But you have to give up a lot probably to get him.
Yeah,
but
you have to give up some.
But you're losing a lot if Freddie Freeman decides to go elsewhere. So we'll see what happens with the Braves and that standpoint. We got more to come here. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out, here on this Friday. Kevin and Ben. A lot of baseball talk still going, and of course, a lot of good things coming out about the league. I know Ben was talking about who could be some early favorites. I mean, it's so hard to say with free agency going on. The Giants have made some moves to shore up their pitching staff. Carlos Rodon, big-time pitcher, signs with the Giants today, so a lot of people thinking maybe they're there. But so hard to say until this free agency gets done, man, because, again, you add a Freddie Freeman, and I say add, even if he comes back to the Braves, what a difference that makes for your roster in terms of how you think you can compete. That is a huge get. What did the Braves do with DH? Is Jorge Soler back DH? I mean, if he does, that's a huge win, along with Ronald Acuna. And I'm excited about, hey, if Acuna's at 100%, maybe he could DH, take that David Ortiz role. Hey, man, you go up there and smack that thing 4 times, then go sit down and get and get healthy. So that's something that we'll see in baseball. How does that affect teams having to go out and get a DH in the National League? Because I think that was one of the things, Ben, that people looked at. It was like, in the National League, much more important to have a good bench. American League, much more important to have a good DH, a guy who did nothing but go up there and rake baseballs all day. Now, National League teams have had kind of utility guys, maybe not the best bat, a guy to come off and give you a base knock. Now they need to go out and pay a guy, 15 of them, that can come in and just do nothing but hit and get the job done. So a little bit different dynamic there in the National League as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, the universal DH is going to make things a lot different from the National League. I mean, you're talking about the fact that now pitchers, all they're going to do is pitch. I know BJ can appreciate that. And then you're going to be able, like you said, you created 15 opportunities for guys who, and I never even thought about that dynamic. Hey, Acuna, look, why you getting healthy, right? We just want you to go out there and swing the bat. What? That's what you do incredibly well. I mean, I don't know where you rank as far as like leadoff hitters, but I know you got to be up there. I mean, you ain't getting as many RBIs as you could because you leave in the yard. Boop, first pitch. But I do think too, Kevin. I mean, when you think, as you mentioned, I mean, when you talk about the Giants team and the pitcher, the Dodgers are always going to be up there. The Yankees are always going to be up there. Teams like the Astros. But like you said, you don't know where guys are going to end up at this point. And you think about it, that's really what's probably going on right now behind the scenes is we know the guys we got targeted, but what are the contingency plans that we can't get these guys because money talks, man. And let's face it, if arguably the two best players in baseball are on the same team and they don't even make the playoffs. And so when you think about that's how great baseball is, the two best players in the game on the same team don't make the playoffs. And you think about the Braves. Every team needs to have some, like you said, Kevin. If you're in the National League, you're talking about being able to have a good bench. If you're in the AL, you talk about the DH. But you got to have pitching. You got to have a young superstar. You got to have because young superstars are scattered all throughout baseball. The problem is, I think baseball's problem right now is if they have one is how do we make sure that those players are playing, in October?
Well, outside of rigging the games, you can't do that. But yeah. I do think. In terms of growing the game, what they've proposed for next year, where you're going away from the unbalanced schedule, might be good, where you get everybody plays everybody instead of just you play 19 games against each team in your division. They're going to have it where everybody plays everybody. So you get one series at least against everybody, which means in your home ballpark, every 2 years, you will see every team, which, we talk about that at every level. I mean, we talk about that at the collegiate level, at the SEC, it's like, why do you need to go to pods? Why do you need to do away with locked-in divisional play? Because Texas A&M is in the SEC, and Georgia's played them like once. And they've been in the league a decade. You played them one time. You don't see teams from the other side as often as you would. It's hard to develop rivalries, hard to develop who are some of the players in these other teams you want to watch. Now you're going to the pro level. I mean, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, but when would they be coming to Atlanta? Unless you just matched up that 1 year against the American League West. So it's like you don't get to see all the greats. And I do think that is one innovation or one change that they're doing for 2023 that will be good, where you will get a chance to see every single team. You will get a chance to see Mike Trout in your ballpark. You will get a chance to see some of these players that you just would never get a chance to see. You get to see somebody from Detroit. Right now it would be Miguel Cabrera, but who knows? He might be retired by then. But you get to see everybody make a way through your ballpark every 2 years and kind of expose more of the league to you. I mean, everybody who follows baseball knows Mike Trout. How many people get to watch him play? They play at 10 o'clock at night
Yeah.
on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're just going to stay up and say, all right, if I don't have to go to work tomorrow, maybe I can catch 1 or 2 ABs for Mike Trout. Maybe I can catch a Shohei Ohtani start once. I'm not staying up till 1 a.m. 3-4 nights a week to try to watch Mike Trout, but this will help obviously a little bit with a little bit more of an unbalanced schedule or a balanced schedule out there where you play a little bit more of everybody. So I like some of those things that baseball's doing, and we'll see how that impacts the game moving forward. But right now, to say who's the early favorite, man, it is so tough to tell. There's so many impact players that are free agents right now that if they go to the right team, man, that can make a difference. And I will say this, Ben, hard to project who's going to be who could be a winner right now with the expanded playoffs. I know they went from 10 to 12, but in baseball, look, I don't really want to go past 12 because I think then you're starting to get into teams that got 75, 77 wins and they got losing records going in. Like, I think after 162, if you're below 500, like, all right, you probably aren't that great of a baseball team. But I will say that. I will say this. If you are team 12 and you make a move in late July for the right starting pitcher, you can win a series.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We see it all the time. Look at college baseball where you see these teams, you go, Lipscomb, you get the right starting pitcher, you can beat anybody. That's the beauty of baseball. You get the right pitching, anything can happen. Just give me a chance. I mean, baseball is so fluky, 2 out of 3. So all I got to do is win 2 of the next 3. I feel good about my first 2. If we can win those games, we got a chance. And we're not the best team. And I think that's what makes baseball different. Football, by and large, Ben, if you're one of the best teams, and when I say the best teams, like top 5 or 6 teams, you're going to be there at the end, more than likely.
Yeah.
And the Rams were a good team. They made a couple moves, made themselves really good. And what happened? They made it to the Super Bowl. NBA, you got the best players, I mean, you're probably going to be there.
Yep.
Like Giannis, probably going to be in the conference finals at the very least. You know, you look at some of these teams that are put together, they're going to be there. You don't get a team that's 9th or 10th in the playoffs like, hey, we think we can win this gig. No. You're a bad team. You're not going to beat us best of 7. Baseball, you certainly could if you get the right pitching matchups in some of these series and things go your way. So I think that is an interesting part that people are hopeful will kind of spur on the game teams to make moves where it's like, hey, we might be the 10th team in, but if we can make one deal that could turn our whole fortunes around. We're the 10th team, but we just landed an ace pitcher with a month or 2 to go in the season. We made a trade. And all of a sudden, face us in a best of 3. We got 2 aces that you aren't going to be able to. It's like, I think that's an exciting aspect of the game, especially when you get in the postseason.
Well, Kevin, I mean, you talking about the game within the game. You talking about the strategy of baseball. You talking about the fact that Alex Anthopoulos, people going to look at it and say, hey, man, what was the turning point of this season? Well, you had 2 turning points. One, you really had 3. You had to deal with Marcell Ozuna, right? Then slash Mike Soroka being more of a distraction than anything because he never ended the game. Then you talking about when Ronald Acuna Jr. goes out. You start saying, oh man, think about that. People, if the season would have went downhill, nobody would have said anything but then look at what you did at trade deadline. Because the talk was, what do you do at the trade deadline? You get guys that kind of like, had some good years in the league, but a lot of times these teams, if you trade for a player, that means he's one that is working with his current team. Jock Peterson, Rosario, Soler. Look at what those guys did. And that's how back to back to back in all 3 series. I mean, you don't have a more iconic moment than when Soler hits the home run, looks to the freaking dugout, and says, man, I'm here. He knew, bam, that thing, it still hasn't landed. That thing was, and so I do think the strategy, because that's another thing too, Kevin, that I don't never ever really go crazy about when we talk about the moves that the Braves make. Obviously, I want one of those moves to be Freddie Freeman, because I've seen what they can do at the trade deadline. Like, look, man, sometimes I don't get the guy that I wanted, but some of those contracts, quote, expiring contracts, towards you get towards the trade deadline, they say, oh, he starts looking real attractive when I can get this guy off my books. So I do trust what the Braves are doing, but like you said, it's kind of hard to say who's the early favorite because you're going off of, who's been a Cy Young winner, who's been an MVP candidate, who's won a World Series, those type of, Clayton Kershaw, for as great as he is, he's only won 1 World Series. Now, he's been in a bunch of them, but he's only won 1. So just because arguably the greatest pitcher of this era, I mean, you got a lot of guys around you, which those guys, when it comes to pitchers, man, they got one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. But it's hard to say who's going to be the early favorite. But if the Braves can bring back Freddie Freeman, bring back some of those guys like maybe like a Soler, keep some of those young pitchers. I mean, and obviously, like you say, Kevin, that farm system is always deep when it comes to the Braves. They got good a shot as any.
Yeah, and we'll have to wait and see. We'll find out what they're trying to get done here with Freddie Freeman. I would imagine by Monday something's going to go somewhere or another with Fred, because he's the kind of guy. Hey, get me in camp. Let me get my hacks. Let's get ready to play baseball. I don't think this is something that's going to be drug out to March 31st and the season starts in 7 days. To me, that's just not how Freddie Freeman has been. He's a guy that's probably sitting there right now going, mandatory report days on Sunday. Probably like to have something decided by Sunday so he can get into camp and get going. We got more to come. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here as we get you ready for the weekend conference basketball tournaments. SEC, some upsets already. Auburn out. Upset this afternoon by Texas A&M, so a little intrigue there. We got the ACC basketball tournament coming up for you, 6:30 here this evening. Could have North Carolina and Duke, if they both win, playing tomorrow night in the ACC final. Of course, I will have the ACC final for you on Saturday night. SEC semifinals tomorrow starting at 12:45. So a doubleheader of SEC semifinals, ACC championship tomorrow night. Then on Sunday, the SEC championship for you here as well ahead of Selection Sunday. And then we'll know where to go. The field of 64, not 68.
Not 68. I mean.
We'll know the 64 and the other teams that are trying to play their way.
I mean, the thing about it is, listen, Kevin has come around. The 2022, Kevin has come around on bowl games. We just got to add the Kevin Thomas. You know what it is, bowl in Vegas.
Yes. Just
right?
let me have all the benefits.
But the problem is, Kevin, they told Kevin, when you get there, man, you got to go to this thing and then they're serving triple chocolate. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I will not endorse nonsensical things. We've also agreed that you don't eat dog food. Okay, we don't do that.
No, I don't do that. No.
And we don't.
That's not breaking news. That's been a pretty strong.
And we're not eating the gas station pickled pig feet at the front of the school. I mean, at the front of the gas station. But you know, Kevin mentioned something that I think is not getting enough. If North Carolina meets Duke, if North Carolina can not only beat Duke, like Coach K's last
Coach
game,
K Day, yeah.
Coach K Day, Coach K Day got ruined, like
in a big way. Yeah.
Do you think that they go up to North Carolina players and go, "Hey man, could y'all could we what? Could y'all kind of take it easy, man? Bump him."
No, we're here to ruin the party.
Yeah, we are party poopers. If North Carolina can then beat them in the conference tournament and tell Coach K, yeah, take that. Because I'm just saying, we act like Coach K ain't beat the brakes off of people his whole career. Like he's been doing this to everybody else. He didn't take it easy. So all I'm saying is, Kevin, if North Carolina could do it twice, listen, that would just make me love North Carolina even more. Listen, I want certain teams to lose. Georgia, you already know it is. I want them to lose. Congratulations to being the defending national champions. I want Duke. I want the Yankees. Right, and I want Alabama. Now, Alabama don't happen that often. Georgia, they didn't get the memo this year. I mean, the Yankees did, and North Carolina got the memo with Duke because I'm telling y'all, the University of Georgia just said, when they say, hey, man, Tom Crean just got fired as basketball coach. Tom Crean's not a basketball coach. What you mean? Coach K is not a basketball coach. No, he's not. Our coach is about to get ready to retire. No. I'm going to say this. Listen, if you grew up in North Carolina and you went to a school outside of that, you don't get to say, oh, I grew up rooting for Duke. That's over with. That's over with. Even the young man that played in Florida, man, that grew up in Athens, talking about when Georgia won the national championship, he got to tell my go. What's wrong with you? Like, we need to set some boundaries here. Coach K, Duke, they are the evil empire of college basketball. You want to take them down either individually or, as a group of people. That group is known as the guys from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Get it done twice, Kevin. Do it. Listen, do it for America. Because I'm tired of saying it. Coach K, send them off because I will want nothing more. Because if Coach K go to the tournament and win it, I'm going to be like, this is rigged. God, it is rigged. It's so rigged if that happens. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think Coach K's best years are definitely behind him. We'll see. As far as like a basketball coach. I'm talking about the basketball. Yeah, I'm sorry. As a basketball coach. Listen,
we're not wishing ill.
As a basketball coach, I don't need the Dukies coming out talking trash to me to my you wish. So all I'm saying is, as a basketball coach, but Tom Crean is no longer the coach of Georgia. Yes. So you Georgia fans, I know some of you guys are saying, does he coach on the Kirby? No, he's the basketball coach. I know y'all don't know about basketball.
Yeah. He was the basketball coach. He is no more there at the University of Georgia. No, man, but it should be a great weekend of college basketball.
Yes.
Tournament basketball has been so much fun. You see teams going down to the wire and fighting it out, going to overtime, trying to figure it out. Had some overtime in the ACC yesterday, made things a lot more interesting. So, man, you see teams going at it, trying to lock up one of these last couple of spots in the bracket, and then you see teams who lose inexplicably and go, uh-oh, it's going to be a long wait to Sunday night to find out if we just, mess things up for what we were trying to do. Auburn was, some people saying maybe they could have been a 1 seed, maybe a 2 locked, and then they lose in the quarterfinals And now people are saying maybe they're going to slide down to a 3 or 4 seed.
Bruce
So,
Pearl getting him lifetime contract like Calipari and ain't getting it done.
I think Bruce Pearl in the postgame said, Brian Harsin? Did you ask me about Brian Harsin?
Hey, Brian, listen, Brian Harsin. I want to talk about Brian
You want to
Harsin.
talk about Brian?
Let's talk about that money you got. We won't talk about my
they're
money.
doing spring practice. We'll be in the tournament next week. It's fine. Appreciate Gaurav Vidok joining us here on the program. We'll have all the latest with the Braves coming up Monday, which will be a Grapefruit League week. Braves will be back next week playing games. Hopefully, they're playing games in spring training with Freddie Freeman. We'll see if the Braves are able to do something here over the weekend, and we'll bring that to you on Monday. Of course, we'll know the field of 64 plus the team's trying to play in on Monday as well. This is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.